Chapter-1021 Long Live Demacia. Boom. The powerful repulsion bombarded Might Dai, but Might Dai was not the ninja beasts from before. It didn't fly out under the impact of the repulsion, but after a short pause, it broke the repulsion, and then the fist was casted and hit unabated. Uchiha Madara. Although the repulsion didn't knock Might Dai into the air, Uchiha Madara's purpose had been achieved. Due to the pause just now, Susanoo had taken the opportunity to slash down with a huge pheasant sword. Boom. Might Dai's fist hit the grass pheasant sword, an explosion sounded, and waves of air spread, and at the same time a white light flashed. The battlefield changed again, the sea disappeared, and the two appeared at this time. On a ring, a large number of illusions invaded the two at the same time, which is the effect of the illusion field. But these visions couldn't affect Might Dai at all. Whoosh. Soon Might Dai flew out backwards, but Susanoo was not intact, and also took 2 steps backwards. When Might Dai stopped, he had already flown dozens of meters. At this time, he stepped on the air and stopped in the air. With Might Dai's current strength, he can stagnate for a short time by stepping on the air. Burn it, little universe. With a roar, Might Dai pounced again. The sound of explosions continued to sound, and the battle between the two people saw people's blood boil. As expected of my father, he is really amazing. In the stands, Might Dai, who had been resurrected, looked at Might Dai with admiration on his face, and also opened the 7th door. He was not Might Dai's opponent. It's really violent. Many spectators were secretly amazed, most of them couldn't even block Might Dai's punch. Day Tiger. After more than 10 minutes, Might Dai finally used the profound truth of the 7th door. At this time, Might Dai turned into a huge white tiger, and his aura had reached the level of a high 6 paths level. Even Uchiha Madara had to be cautious. Cut. Uchiha Madara controlled Susanoo to raise the draft pheasant sword high, and cut it down against the white tiger. Burn it, little universe. Might Dai roared, then rushed straight to Uchiha Madara. Boom. The grass pheasant sword bombarded the white tiger, and suddenly a violent explosion occurred in midair. A large amount of energy was scattered, and after sputtering to the ground, countless plants were destroyed. Suddenly a white tiger rushed out of the smoke. Might Dai broke the grass pheasant sword, but at this time the white tiger also lost half of his body. Then the white tiger hit Susanoo directly, and the tall and sturdy Susanoo collapsed under the impact of the white tiger, and even Uchiha Madara inside was affected. Damn it. Uchiha Madara's face was ugly, although he knew that Might Dai was powerful from previous spectators, but after the real fight, he realized that Might Dai's strength exceeded his expectations. Boom. Uchiha Madara no longer retains this time, and directly enters the 6 paths mode. Dai. Uchiha Madara swung the 6 paths tin stick at Might Dai. Bang. Might Dai's fist hit the 6 paths tin stick. After a blow, Uchiha Madara retreated twice, while Might Dai fell directly from the sky and finally hit the ground. Just as Might Dai landed, the battlefield changed again, and the surrounding temperature increased, turning it into a field of fire, and Might Dai was very unfortunate. The position at this time was magma. Are you dead? Seeing that Might Dai's figure was covered by magma, Uchiha Madara's eyes narrowed slightly, but unfortunately Rinnegan didn't have the ability to see through, so he couldn't determine Might Dai's situation at this time. Father! Might Dai shouted worriedly from the outside world. He didn't expect that his father, who had the upper hand just now, would end up in such a field in the blink of an eye. Although he knew that Might Dai could be resurrected even if he died, Might Dai was still very worried. Boom. Suddenly the magma exploded, and a large amount of magma was scattered, followed by a yuhi-colored light Jinchuriki column rushed out of the magma and shot straight into the sky. What a powerful blood, he really didn't die. Uchiha Madara's expression became a little dignified. Soon, a figure flew out from the magma. It was Might Dai. However, compared to before, Might Dai has undergone a lot of changes. I saw that the energy around Might Dai turned into a fresh yuhi color at this time, and even Might Dai's hair and eyebrows turned into yuhi color, and at the same time, a tragic breath spread out. This is the second time Might Dai has opened all 8 doors, but his basic strength was weak the first time, so his strength after all 8 doors is far less powerful than it is now. Shixiang 1 speed. Boom. Might Dai knew that his time was running out. Although this was the second time he had opened the door to death, his endurance had increased, but the side effects had not been eliminated, so in order to save time, Might Dai didn't talk nonsense and shot directly. Boom. A blast of air hit Uchiha Madara directly. Facing Might Dai who opened the 8th gate, he had no resistance at all. Second speed. Even time to turn on Susanoo and use the Limbo Border Jail, Might Dai's attacks are less than a second apart. 3 speeds. 4 speed. 5 speed. Just 2 seconds, Uchiha Madara was hit 5 times, and even the Gudodama truth-seeking ball he used to defend was shattered early, not to mention the 6 paths tin stick. At this time, Uchiha Madara's clothes were all torn, and his body was covered with cracks. Final blow. Kill. Boom. Yuhi chromatic light Jinchuriki column soared into the sky, and finally turned into a giant dragon. The blood-colored giant dragon rose into the sky and rushed straight to Uchiha Madara. Long live Demacia, Might Dai suddenly shouted at this moment. This sentence was also taught to him by Dong Shenyao before. Back then, Dong Shenyao told him that he could shout this sentence when he was fighting against the backwater, which would enhance his strength. Since the previous, Burning Small Universe, really made Might Dai feel very useful, at this time he listened to Dong Shenyao's words and shouted again. At this time, Dong Shenyao covered his face, and he was a little thankful that people in this world didn't know the meaning of these 2 sentences. The face of Might Dai's powerful blow, Uchiha Madara also gave up. Boom. Susanoo appeared, and then used the power of 6 paths to condense a grass pheasant sword, and went straight to Yuhi. Dai. Boom. The attacks of the 2 collided together. Might Dai was a blow of pure physical strength. Even the power of 6 paths could not completely stop it. After a stalemate for a while, the grass pheasant sword was shattered, and then the giant dragon waved its claws. Hit Uchiha Madara. Bang. Whoa. Just one blow, Susanoo shatters. Chapter 1022 Battle of Fate. Bang. One blow, Susanoo shattered, and then the other claw of the blood-colored giant dragon went straight to the exposed Uchiha Madara. Bang. This time the giant dragon's claws were blocked by Gudodama truth-seeking ball, but Gudodama truth-seeking ball was also covered with cracks, apparently unable to block the next blow. Bang. Whoa. Sure enough, after another claw, Gudodama truth-seeking ball shattered, and then the giant dragon danced with its tail, and a divine dragon swiped its tail on Uchiha Madara's body. Bang. Whoosh. Uchiha Madara flew out like a meteor, and finally fell to the ground. Ow. The sound of the dragon's roar sounded, and the blood-colored giant dragon chased after the victory. Unlike Might Dai who used this move on his own, Might Dai can now hold out longer. The blink of an eye, the blood-colored giant dragon had approached Uchiha Madara, then opened its mouth and bit towards Uchiha Madara. Go away. Uchiha Madara shouted angrily, and then stretched out a palm towards the giant dragon. Super Shinra Tensei Almighty Push sign. Boom. A powerful repulsion force was issued, and even the blood-colored dragon paused for a while, but the repulsion force was quickly broken, and the blood-colored giant dragon continued to move forward, but Uchiha Madara had already taken this opportunity to dodge. Boom. The giant dragon hit the ground, an explosion sounded, and the entire arena was destroyed by the giant dragon's blow. Limbo Border Jail. Uchiha Madara's eyes narrowed, and the next moment, the 4 Limbo clones rushed straight towards the giant dragon. Bang, bang, bang. After Limbo's clone hit the blood-colored giant dragon, he couldn't do any damage to the giant dragon, so how could he hurt the Might Dai inside? Bang. Julong waved his dragon claws and hit Limbo's clone, and the 4 clones were immediately knocked out. Soon the venue changed again, but neither of Uchiha Madara paid attention. Tengai Shinsei, Heavenly Obstacle Quaking Star. Uchiha Madara also fought hard, and directly summoned a huge meteorite and went straight to the dragon. Boom! After one blow, the meteorite shattered, but the blood-colored light on the dragon also dimmed. PFF'd. Finally, the claw of the blood-colored dragon hit Uchiha Madara. With just one blow, Uchiha Madara's arm was shattered. After seeing this situation, Uchiha Madara was horrified. Although he is a high-level 6 paths level powerhouse, his body can recover, but if completely broken, he would also only die. If this continues, then Uchiha Madara will definitely lose, but there is a time limit for all 8 gates. Even if Might Dai persists for a longer time, it is still limited. 2 minutes later, the dragon dissipated, and Might Dai, who was charred black, fell to the ground. Phew, it's finally over. Uchiha Madara, who had lost most of his body, let out a long sigh of relief. It was really dangerous just now. As long as Might Dai persisted for half a minute longer, he would be the loser. But there are not so many ifs in the world. Winning is winning, and the final winner is Uchiha Madara. Soon the second game of the semifinals battle began, this time between Senju Hashirama and Nagato. Although Nagato's strength is good, it is a lot worse than Senju Hashirama. And the battlefield of the two is the field of water. At the beginning of the battle, Senju Hashirama directly used the strongest mystery, Shinsa-senju, and Nagato was not timid. After using Susanoo, he fought with Senju Hashirama. Nagato's courage is commendable, but his strength is a little worse. In the end, Susanoo was smashed, and Nagato was smashed to slag by Senju Hashirama's head-turning Buddha. At this point, the battle of the semifinals is over. Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, the two former gods of the ninja world, have entered the final, and the final champion will be produced between the two. After a 15-minute break, Might Dai and Nagato were resurrected, but instead of entering the final immediately, Nagato and Might Dai played a game first to choose the third runner-up. The final result is self-evident. After Might Dai opened the 8th gate, he abused Nagato, but not long after Nagato died, Might Dai also fell for opening the dead gate. Of course, although the final result was that both of them died, but since Nagato died first and at the hands of Might Dai, the final result was that Might Dai was the third runner-up and Nagato was the fourth. 15 minutes later, Might Dai was resurrected again, and the final began. This is a battle of fate. In the Sengoku era, Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama fought countless battles, and then they fought in the Valley of the End. In that battle, Uchiha Madara faked his death and Senju Hashirama was seriously injured. After more than 60 years, the two will face off again. Hashirama, I will definitely beat you this time. Uchiha Madara looked directly at Senju Hashirama on the rock field. Humph, I was able to beat you back then, but I can do it this time. If it was 10 years ago, Senju Hashirama was absolutely defeated, but now, he has grown up too. Battle. The two shouted at the same time, and suddenly turned into two black shadows and rushed towards each other. Only a sound of ding 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 dong sounded, and the two fought to one place waving their weapons. There is no gorgeous ninjutsu, and there are no powerful moves. The two of them are just the most ordinary hand-to-hand combat. At this moment, the two of them seem to have returned to decades ago. Gradually, the two of them forgot the purpose of the battle and that they were only participating in the martial arts tournament. At this time, the two of them threw themselves into the battle, with only one thought in their hearts, and that was to defeat each other. 5 or 6 minutes have passed in the blink of an eye, and the two of Uchiha Madara are still undefeated. Kaden, Fire Style, Great Fireball Jutsu. Uchiha Madara finally started using ninjutsu. Mokuden, Wood Style, Wood Locking Wall. Boom! The explosion sounded, and the smoke filled the air, obscuring Senju Hashirama's figure. Uchiha Madara did not pause at 3.6 mm, and kept playing all kinds of ninjutsu. Kaden, Fire Style, Dragon Fire Bullet. Mokuden, Wood Style, Deep Forest Emergence. A large number of trees emerged, directly blocking the fire, and Uchiha Madara was also surrounded by a large number of trees. Cadent Fire Style, Majestic Destroyer Flame, Great Fire Annihilation. Even more huge flames spewed out, and the entire deep forest was shrouded in flames in an instant, and these trees suddenly fell into a sea of flames. As time passed, the battle continued to escalate, and various ninjutsu emerged one after another, and those watching the battle were dazzled and fascinated. Both of them are very powerful. Not only are the ninjutsu they use powerful, but they are also used at the right time. If they are of equal strength, we are probably not their opponents. Uchiha Makoto sighed. Chapter 1023 Foreign Enemies Come. Watching the fight between Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, everyone was fascinated. Both Senju Hashirama are battle-hardened people who have been fighting every step of the way from the very beginning. Every ninjutsu they use has a purpose, not just to attack, but also to foreshadow. Although Kushina and the others have surpassed Senju Hashirama in strength, their combat experience is far worse. If the two sides are at the same level, then Tashinyao and Tsunade will be able to fight the two of them. As time passed, the battles between the two sides continued to escalate, and various high-level ninjutsu emerged one after another. Originally, the site where the two fought was the site of the rock, but now the site of the rock is covered with various plants, and many places are burning with raging fires. Susanoo. Shin Sasenju. Boom. Two giants over 100 feet appeared on the battlefield. Both of them are old rivals, and they don't need to talk nonsense. After the two giants appeared, the war began. I saw Susanoo with 2 heads and 4 arms, waving 4 arms straight to Senju Buddha. At the same time, the Senju Buddha also swung his dense arms towards Susanoo. Boom, boom, boom. The explosions sounded one after another, and the two giants fought in one place. The grass pheasant sword that Susanoo used to condense the energy is very sharp, and it can cut off several arms of Senju Buddha with one stroke, but this is nothing to Senju Buddha at all. I don't know how many arms are densely packed, and they can be recovered. It even recovered faster than Susanoo slashed his arm. Although Uchiha Madara's Susanoo has 4 arms, it is far worse than Senju Buddha, so a lot of arms are constantly bombarding Susanoo. Although the attack power of each arm is not very strong, it can't hold a large number of them, but after a few attacks, Susanoo can't bear it a little bit, and there are some cracks on it, but Susanoo's recovery speed is not slow, so these cracks healed quickly and the fight continued. More than 10 minutes passed in a flash. At this time the entire battlefield turned into ruins, everything was shattered, and gullies appeared on the ground. Boom. Another blow. I saw Susanoo's arm was broken, but at this time, Senju Buddha's arm was also destroyed by nearly a third, although these arms can be restored, but the speed cannot keep up with the speed of destruction. Limbo Border Jail. Uchiha Madara strikes again, manipulating Susanoo to resist Senju Buddha, while letting Limbo Clone to attack Senju Hashirama. Although Senju Hashirama can perceive the existence of these Limbo Clones, it is not easy to resist. Fight. Turn into a Buddha on the top. Senju Hashirama hits Susanoo directly with a massive punch. Cut. The 4 grass pheasant swords were fused together and turned into a giant sword that lifted the sky, carrying the might of opening up the world and cutting it down with one sword. Boom. A deafening explosion sounded, and a huge mushroom cloud rose into the sky. Smoke obscured the 2 Uchiha Madara figures, making it impossible for everyone to know the outcome. After more than a minute, the smoke slowly dissipated. At this time, neither Susanoo nor Senju Buddha had disappeared, and Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama were standing in the rubble. Senju Hashirama's shirt had disappeared, even one of his arms was missing, and blood kept flowing from the wound. Uchiha Madara was not intact either. At this time, there was blood hanging from the corners of his mouth, his face was pale, and his internal organs were obviously injured. Just when everyone thought that the battle would be decided soon, Uchiha Madara said, "Senju Hashirama, it seems that your strength has not improved much." "Humph. Each other, your progress is very small." Senju Hashirama counterattacked rudely. "No matter how small your progress is, I can beat you, Senju Hashirama, the shame you gave me 60 years ago, I will give it back to you today. Boom. The momentum on Uchiha Madara soared, and the next moment his attire changed. A head of black hair turned white, and 9 Gudodama truth-seeking ball appeared behind him, while his wounds healed quickly. Do you think only you can do this? Not to be outdone, Senju Hashirama's already exhausted momentum also began to rise. Gudodama truth-seeking ball appeared, and at the same time, the previously destroyed arm also quickly recovered. Seeing this scene, Dong Shenyao and others knew that the real war had just begun. But just as they were waiting for Uchiha Madara to fight again, Tsunade suddenly stood up from his seat, then looked up to the distance, followed by Uchiha Makoto, Uzumaki Kushina and others also stood up. At this moment, the actions of Dong Shenyao and others caught the attention of all the audience. Strange, what happened to the gods? Everyone was curious and didn't know what happened. At the same time, in the void thousands of miles away, cracks suddenly appeared in the space, just like broken glass. The power of space rioted, and it didn't take long for the space to be completely shattered, and a huge space crack appeared, like a space door. Whoosh! The next moment, a giant ship flew in from the crack in space. The ship was not small, with a length of more than 100 feet. After the giant ship flew in through the crack in space 200, a terrifying aura filled the air. The perception ability of Tsunade and others is very strong. Even if they are thousands of miles away, they can perceive this breath. Tsunade's face was gloomy at this point, because she found out that the giant ship came from outside the world. Not good. Otsutsuki Kagaya, who was living in seclusion in a forest, suddenly stood up and looked at the void in the distance through the wall. It's them, they're chasing after them. Otsutsuki Kagaya panicked at this time, knowing that even when she was defeated by Tashinyao, she had never been so afraid. No, I can't sit still. By the way, there are them. Thinking of this, Otsutsuki Kagaya directly opened a space door and walked in. Shinin Village, in the venue, when Tsunade and others were thinking about things, they suddenly looked at the space to the side, and then saw a crack in the space, and Otsutsuki Kagaya walked in. Why are you here? Seeing the person coming, Dong Shenyao frowned slightly. No, they are here. Otsutsuki Kagaya said with a look of panic. They, who are they? Dong Shenyao asked. Otsutsuki, the people of the Otsutsuki clan, they found this place. Speaking of this, Otsutsuki Kagaya's eyes were full of fear. Chapter 1024 The Mighty Otsutsuki Clan. The Otsutsuki clan. After hearing Otsutsuki Kagaya's words, Tashinyao and the others were taken aback for a moment. They all know about the Otsutsuki clan. Tsunade and the others have heard from Tashinyao. The Otsutsuki clan may come, but they have not seen them for so many years. So Tsunade and the others have already put this the matter was forgotten, but I didn't expect the Otsutsuki family to really come. Kagaya, how can you be sure that it is from the Otsutsuki clan? Dong Shenyao asked with a calm expression. At this time, Dong Shenyao was very indifferent, making people unable to see what he was thinking. Because of that battleship, that is the battleship that belongs to my Otsutsuki clan, and I will not forget it even after all these years. Oh, it seems that this battleship is not simple, but Kagaya, you are the god of the world now, are you still afraid of the Otsutsuki clan? Dong Shenyao asked curiously. You don't understand, the power of the Otsutsuki clan is not something you can guess, and the gods only represent the evolution of the level of life, not the strength. In many worlds, even if some people do not become gods, their strength is no better than gods. Worse, even stronger. In the Otsutsuki clan, although the number of true gods is small, there are quite a few powerhouses that can rival the gods. This time, a second-class battleship is here. There are 108 such battleships in our Otsutsuki clan. Don't look at the number of second-tier warships, but each second-tier warship has a powerful army, and a single search for second-tier warships can conquer an ordinary medium-sized world. Kagaya, then what class do we belong to in this world? Tsunade pressed. It's just medium, that is to say, the army on this second-tier warship is enough to destroy us. Speaking of this, Otsutsuki Keigaya's face became very pale, and he didn't have the bearing that he should have as a god. Okay, this is not the place to talk about business. It seems that this martial arts tournament will be temporarily stopped. Speaking of this, Dong Shenyao looked at Tsunade and said, please transfer Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara over. I see, Tsunade said with a wave of his hand, and immediately moved the two Senju Hashirama, who were still fighting, into the venue. The two of Uchiha Madara only felt that the surrounding environment had changed, but they could no longer care about it. The battle had already heated up, and now both of them were focused on the battle. Just the next moment, a terrifying might descended, directly separating the two. Stop it, the martial arts tournament is suspended. I'll tell you about the specifics later, and now you go back to your own. Hearing Tsunade's words, the two of Uchiha Madara were stunned for a moment, then suppressed the doubts in their hearts. I am sorry everyone, because of the unexpected situation, the finals of the First Gods Fighting Tournament had to be postponed. Please come back first. As for when the finals will be held again, we will notify you separately. Dong Shenyao said after that. No matter how the crowd reacted, they left with Tsunade and the others. As for the aftermath, naturally Asuka and others would do it. Tsunade and several people came directly to the heaven. In the palace of Hinata, the main god of the heaven, Dong Shenyao and others gathered together, and even Hinata's body appeared. Keigaya, tell us the detailed information now. Dong Shenyao said first. At this time, Otsutsuki Keigaya had calmed down a little. Although it felt that they could not beat the people of the Otsutsuki family, Otsutsuki Keigaya did not give up. She is not someone to give up easily, otherwise, she would not have used the sacred tree to make white Zetsu. Our Otsutsuki clan is also a very powerful group in the entire time and space ocean, occupying dozens of worlds, and there are 18 first-class warships and 108 second-class warships under its command. I don't know much about the first-class warships, but the second-class warships still know a little bit. This time, it is the second-class battleship. Although on the surface, the second-class battleship is only 100 feet in size, but in fact, the space inside is very large, which is comparable to a small world. The standard configuration of a second-level warship is a median god-level powerhouse, 5 lower-level god-level powerhouses, and 26 paths-level and demigod-level powerhouses. As for the super cage-level and cage-level powerhouses, there are hundreds of them, and the weakest among the second-tier warships is the elite Jonin. Hi. Hearing Otsutsuki Keigaya's introduction, everyone gasped, but soon they were attracted by a message. Keigaya, what are these lower and middle gods? Kushina asked curiously. The lower gods and the middle gods are the divisions of the strength of god-level powerhouses and god-level powerhouses are different from gods. Gods are a higher-level creature, while god-level powerhouses are only in terms of strength. It is only comparable to the gods. As for the level of life, it still belongs to the ordinary level, and it cannot be immortal and immortal like the gods, and it does not have many magical powers of the gods. Quote. Then what is the level of the gods? Strength, and we belong to the level of gods. Kushina asked. At the same time, everyone else was staring at Otsutsuki Keigaya, waiting for her answer. The gods can be divided into lower gods, middle gods, upper gods, and main gods. As for the next level, I don't know, because the strongest among our Otsutsuki clan is only the main god. As for your strength, most of them are only lower gods. As for Tsunade, they may reach the level of middle gods. In this case, we still have a chance of winning, Makoto said with a smile on his face. It can't be counted like this. My Otsutsuki clan can go out to fight with elites who have been on the battlefield. The combat experience is far from what you can match. At the same level, you are probably not opponents. Otsutsuki Keigaya's remarks hit everyone, and everyone was a little worried for a while. Yao, what should we do? Even though they have surpassed Dong Shenyao in rank, the girls still used to regard Dong Shenyao as a Jinchuriki column. The soldiers will block the water and cover the soil. We can only do our best now. Kagaya, please tell us in detail about the hierarchy of the gods, so that we can have a detailed understanding of ourselves. Okay, then I'll tell you. Speaking of this, Otsutsuki Kagaya paused for a while and then continued. God, as I said before, it can be divided into gods and god-level powerhouses, regardless of whether the lower gods, the middle gods, or the upper gods, in fact, are a kind of classification for the gods at the beginning, but some mortals are not weaker than the gods, so the strong among these mortals also began to use gods. Divide to distinguish differences in strength. Quote. Chapter 1025 God's Rank. God, for many people, is the supreme existence, and even in the eyes of most people, God is just a legend. But for Dong Shenyao and the others, gods are real. Even Tsunade and others have become gods. Even Dong Shenyao is already on the road to becoming a god, and he is very close to God. But people don't know much about gods, even real gods such as Tsunade are no exception. After all, everyone has never been exposed to the world other than Hokage before, and has never seen other gods. The understanding of gods depends on their own exploration. But Dong Shenyao and the others all know that gods are also graded. Just like Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto, both of them are gods, but Tsunade's strength is far superior to Makoto. To say that they are gods of the same level, Dong Shenyao and the others will not believe it. And today, under pressure, Otsutsuki Kagaya finally said something. From Otsutsuki Kagaya, Ta Shenyao and others learned a lot about the gods. For example, gods are divided into two types. One is gods, and the other is god-level powerhouses. Among them, the gods refer to the higher level 170 creatures. For example Tsunade, Kushina and others. And god-level powerhouses refer to creatures with strength comparable to gods, but they are only as powerful as gods, but they are not comparable to gods in terms of life level. Just like the Super Saiyans in Dragon Ball, which can easily destroy the existence of the planet, and their strength surpasses many gods, but they do not belong to gods, they can only be said to be god-level powerhouses, and they cannot escape from life, old age, sickness and death. The strength of the gods may not be as strong as the Super Saiyans, but they can be almost immortal. Regardless of whether it is a god-level powerhouse or a god, there is a set of common levels, that is, the lower god, the middle god, the upper god and the main god. As for whether there are stronger people above the main god, Otsutsuki Kagaya is also unclear, so Dong Shenyao and the others don't even know. But knowing this is enough for Tsunade and others now. Although both god-level powerhouses and gods use the same set of grading methods, the standards are different. The standard for the classification of god-level powerhouses is strength, while the symbol of gods is the degree of evolution, or in the words of comprehension novels, that is the realm. The lower gods among the gods are those who condense the body and soul of the gods, and have the power to comprehend the laws. Now in the entire Hokage world, only Tsunade, Hinata, and Uchiha Makoto can belong to gods. Uzumaki Kushina, Otsutsuki Kagaya, Maitreya, and Shion 7 women. As for Dong Shenyao is only a demigod, and Kurenai Yuhi is also a demigod. Oh, of course, since both Kurenai Yuhi and Dong Shenyao have priesthoods, they can both exert godlike strengths with the help of the priesthood, so they can be regarded as god-level powerhouses. And if you want to become a median god, then you can only fully comprehend a law. Now even Tsunade is not a median god in her level, but because she is the master of the world, her strength in this world far exceeds her own level, so her strength can be comparable to that of a median god. About their rank among the gods from Otsutsuki Kagaya, everyone fell silent. It doesn't matter that the number of their gods is more than the enemy who came this time, but as Otsutsuki Kagaya said, most of them have little combat experience, and their strength is definitely not comparable to those who have experienced many battles. Everyone didn't speak, and finally Otsutsuki Kagaya couldn't help it. You have spoken, the enemy has arrived, what should we do? I have already said that the soldiers will block the water and cover the soil. This matter will definitely not be good. After all, we and the Otsutsuki family are going to fight. So don't think too much, everyone, gather your troops and prepare for war. Shenyao showed the bearing of being the lord of a country, even more powerful than Tsunade, the lord of the world. That's all I can do, then I'll go back to the underworld to gather people. After that, Makoto turned around and left, and then Kushina, Maitreya and others also left one after another. In the end, only Tsunade, Otsutsuki Kagaya, Dongshenyao, and Tianji were left in the heaven. Lord Hinata 4. Among them, Tsunade and Otsutsuki Kagaya did not leave because they did not have any subordinates. Although Tsunade was the master of the world, he did not form a personal guard. And Otsutsuki Kagaya had trained 100,000 white Zetsu at the beginning, but during the Fourth Ninja World War, 100,000 white Zetsu died. As for Hinata, as the Lord of the Heavens, she naturally does not need to leave. And Dong Shenyao didn't leave because he wanted to ask something. Tsunade, Hinata and their bodies can't leave their respective worlds, what should we do? Tashinya asked anxiously. It doesn't matter, in fact, the fact that the World Master can't leave his world is only relative, not absolute. They can still leave, but they can't leave for too long, otherwise without the suppression of the World Master, the world will be turbulent. It may even be destroyed over time. There are also World Masters whose strength will decrease when they leave their respective worlds. If Hinata and the others are comparable in strength to the lower gods in their own world, once they leave, their strength is at most the initial stage of the lower gods. To the mid-term. Is that so? Dongshenyao let out a long sigh of relief. With the answer, he did not stay in the heavenly world for a long time, and returned directly to the ninja world and began to gather people to prepare for the battle. The battleship of the Otsutsuki clan did not take any action immediately after entering the Hokage world, but docked in the sky. When Dongshenyao left the heaven, some people in uniform clothes left the battleship and rushed in all directions. Go! At the same time, in the battleship, 6 people gathered together. Mumoshiki-sama, why do you have to work so hard to destroy everyone in this world? Are you afraid that you won't be able to find Otsutsuki Kagaya? Humph. Stupid, this world is a favorite of the clan, and it can become the residence of our Otsutsuki clan. If everyone is wiped out, who will be our slaves in the future? Yes, that's what the Lord taught me. The person who just spoke said with sincerity and fear. After seeing the subordinate's appearance, Momoshiki nodded in satisfaction. Okay, now we'll just wait for the news. I really don't know what the clan thinks, but it's just to hunt down Otsutsuki Kagaya. As for sending our second-tier warships here, Momoshiki said with some dissatisfaction. Thank you, persistent heart light. Chapter 1026 Before the War. Underworld, Uchiha Makoto's avatar and Kurenai Yuhi came back here, and they immediately alerted Uchiha Mikoto's main body. After getting the memory from the avatar, Makoto quickly gathered all the yin gods. Originally, there were more than 3,500 yin gods, but after 10 years of development, the number of yin gods has increased a little, and now it has reached more than 3,600. Uchiha Makoto stood side by side with Kurenai Yuhi, standing on a high platform, with all the yin gods standing below, and the judge standing in front was Uchiha Madara, the yin god general behind him, and the yin god soldier behind him. At this time, everyone vaguely noticed the problem, because Uchiha Makoto never called everyone together after that, except for the day when he was conferred a god. Now obviously something happened, that's why everyone was called Tilda. Especially Uchiha Madara. No more. Even the finals of the martial arts tournament were suspended, obviously something big happened. Everyone, now I want to tell you some bad news. Not long ago, a group of powerful enemies came to this world. Next, we will fight the enemy, and this time it is very likely that you will truly die. What? The crowd was shocked. As yin gods, they still have some understanding of the outside world. They know that the ninja world has been unified now, and the gods are closely related, and it is impossible to fight. A strong enemy came to this world. Isn't the enemy a person from this world? Thinking of this, Uchiha Madara looked up at Uchiha Makoto and asked, Master Underworld, do you know who the enemy is? Now, there are some things that should be told to you. I don't know if you have heard the name Otsutsuki Kagaya. She is called the ancestor of chakra, the first person in the world to have chakra, and she is also a six-paths fairy. My mother, but she is not actually from our world, but from another world. The enemy who came this time is the Otsutsuki clan. In addition to capturing Otsutsuki Kagaya, they also want to conquer our world. So war is unavoidable. Uchiha Makoto succinctly told the story of the Otsutsuki clan. After learning what happened, everyone opened their mouths wide. The appearance of the gods had shocked them before, but now they know that there are other worlds, and people from other worlds are still invading them, and everyone can't accept it for a while. At the same time, this scenario has also occurred in several other places. Psychic World. Uzumaki Kushina not only gathered the nine-tailed beasts, but also all the powerful ninja beasts in the psychic world. I is less than or equal to _ 10 years, Uzumaki Kushina has already unified the entire psychic world and has truly become the master of the psychic world. The god of beasts deserves her name. At this time, when she is summoned, those ninja beasts naturally dare not come. Even the slug fairy sent a clone over. Everyone, now our entire world has reached a critical juncture. A strong enemy has come to this world. We must work together to fight against the strong enemy, otherwise everyone will be enslaved by the enemy. Immediately, Kushina also recounted what happened. Although the details are somewhat different from what Makoto said, but in general they are similar. Heaven, Hinata also called up the gods, and certainly did not forget to bring Neji. At the same time, Senju Hashirama, who has returned to the heavenly realm, is also present. In the past 10 years, the number of gods has also increased, but it is not less than the gods of Yin. When Hinata told the story again, the gods were also in shock, unable to digest the newly obtained information for a long time. No way, Hinata's words directly broke their three views. But Maitreya and Shion are different, they have few subordinates, so it is more convenient to convene. For Dong Shenyao, it took him more than an hour to assemble the manpower. Dong Shenyao and Hinata are different. Hinata and the others are all world masters, and they can directly move all the people they want to find. But Dong Shenyao couldn't. At most, he used teleportation ability to pick them up one by one. However, the number of ninjas summoned by Dong Shenyao exceeds that of Makoto and others. After all, both Yin and Tianshan are elites, and the worst is Elite Jonin, and they are also Elite Jonin with outstanding talent and powerful strength. After all, most of the Yin gods and gods were transformed from the original battle spirits, and the battle spirits that could be valued by Otsutsuki Hagoromo and retained were the worst Elite Jonin, and they had to be talented and powerful. Otherwise, after so many years, there would not be only a few thousand spirits collected. However, the ninja summoned by Dong Shenyao did not spare even Jonin. Although Jonin is not as good as an Elite Jonin, if a few people join forces, it is comparable to an Elite Jonin. In the end, the number of Jonins summoned by Dong Shenyao reached more than 4,000, and there were more than 500 Elite Jonins. In addition, the number of Zunying and cage-level powerhouses was as high as 100. If it weren't for the death of many people due to the Fourth Ninja World War, the number of strong people would only be more. In the end, Dong Shenyao summoned nearly 5,000 people. When he told what happened, everyone was in a daze. If it wasn't for the emergence of real gods in the world over the years, I'm afraid they wouldn't believe Dong Shenyao's words. Even if everyone's ability to accept it has become stronger now, it will take some time to accept the news that the Hokage world has been invaded by other worlds. It was already afternoon when the martial arts tournament was suspended. When everyone gathered the troops, it was already dark, but everyone did not rest. Tsunade personally took action and mobilized all the troops from all walks of life to the ninja world, Dong Shenyao, etc. Man bout. The end, a large number of masters gathered in the Shenin village, not to mention Jonin. The number of elite Jonin alone exceeded 10,000. Of course, half of them are ninjas. If you don't count the gods and yin gods, there are more elite Jonin among ninja beasts than humans. Even if the Toad clan and the Snake clan are still there, the number will increase a lot. However, among the quasi-cage and cage-level powerhouses, the number of ninja beasts is less. And all the quasi-shadows add up to more than 1,500, and the number of cage-level powerhouses has reached more than 200, close to 300. As for the super cage level and 6 paths levels, the number will be greatly reduced. The number of super cage level powerhouses is less than 50, and the 6 paths level is even more limited. The elementary 6 paths and the advanced 6 paths are only a few. A bit, Uchiha Madara, Senju Hashirama, Nagato, Neji, Kyuubi, Nine-Tails, and Hatake Tsukumo can barely count as one, and Might Guy and Might Dai can also count as all 8. For a while, the atmosphere in the ninja world became extremely tense. Chapter 1027 War is about to start. In the blink of an eye, the whole night passed, and Dong Shenyao and the others did not sleep all night. After all, such a big thing happened, how could they be able to sleep? At this time, the entire Shenan village was operating. Now other people, Dong Shenyao, can't control it, but Shenan village set up a powerful barrier overnight, even if the god-level powerhouse wants to break the knot. The world also needs to go all out for 5 minutes. This barrier was jointly arranged by Tsunade and others, and of course it was powerful. My lord, I just got the news that some villages were attacked not long ago. The origins of these people are unknown. Although they used chakra, they did not use ninjutsu. Anbu soon came to the news. It seems that those people have already acted. Tashinyao knew that these people who attacked the village should be the Otsutsuki clan. Chakra is the unique power of the Otsutsuki clan. Although in the Hokage world, ninjas use chakra to release ninjutsu, but Dong Shenyao learned from Otsutsuki Kagaya that although the Otsutsuki clan has chakra, they do not use ninjutsu. Ninjutsu can be said to be unique to the Hokage world, developed by people in this world to use chakra. However, there are other ways of using chakra among the Otsutsuki clan. As for who is good and who is bad on both sides, it's hard to say, it can only be said that each has its own characteristics. Learning that the people of the Otsutsuki clan had left the warship, Dong Shenyao would not be polite, and directly sent troops to encircle and suppress these people. The people of the Otsutsuki clan are very recognizable. In addition to the uniform white uniform, there are also 2 horns on their heads that make them incompatible with the people of this world. Of course, the Byakugan of the Otsutsuki clan is also a feature. Before Momoshiki sent some people to investigate the pattern of the ninja world, it is best to find the whereabouts of Otsutsuki Kagaya. The strength of these people is no more than the elite Jonin, but they are used to being arrogant. In the eyes of these people, the people in the Hokage world are just some indigenous barbarians with little knowledge. When facing these indigenous people, the Otsutsuki family behaved a little high, so when they inquired about things, they would naturally conflict with the people in the Hokage world. In the last anger, the people of the Otsutsuki clan directly slaughtered several villages. Although Tsunade couldn't spy on the situation inside the battleship, Tsunade could still monitor the Otsutsuki warriors who left the battleship. Getting the news of the Otsutsuki warriors from Tsunade, Tashinyao directly sent his troops to start the siege. Naturally, he would not miss this opportunity to weaken the enemy's strength. From Tsunade, Dong Shenyao learned that the Otsutsuki clan had sent a total of 200 people, divided into 10 teams. 20 people in each team except the leader of each team was Junying, the others were elite Jonin. And in order to destroy these people smoothly, Dong Shenyao even sent out cage-level powerhouses. And also divided into 10 teams, each team is led by a cage-level powerhouse, a total of 50 people, the worst is also the elite Jonin. Half an hour passed in the blink of an eye, and soon news came that the 200 Otsutsuki warriors were all annihilated except for 5 prisoners. On the ninja world, only a few were injured, but no one died. Although the warriors of the Otsutsuki clan belonged to the strong among the ninjas of the same level, they were equally unable to stop the ninja team that was more numerous and stronger than them. After getting the captives, Dong Shenyao was not polite, and directly used the ability of soul control to read their memories. Otsutsuki Momoshiki. When Tashinyao learned the name of the battleship commander, he couldn't help but be stunned, because this Otsutsuki Momoshiki was a boss that appeared in the Hokage theatrical version, but in the original work Otsutsuki Momoshiki was only a 6 paths level powerhouse, but now, he has become the master of the median god level. The change is really big, but I don't know if his ability is the same as in the original book, and he can absorb chakra. Thinking of this, Dong Shenyao's brows couldn't help but wrinkle. The ability to absorb chakra is not weak. If Otsutsuki Momoshiki really has this ability, then with his strength, I am afraid that even divine power can be absorbed, so it is not easy to defeat him. It is a pity for Tashinyao that the captured Otsutsuki warriors are not of high status, so it is not clear what the specific abilities of Otsutsuki Momoshiki are. Although detailed information has not been obtained, some general information has been obtained, such as the number of enemies. In addition to Otsutsuki Momoshiki, the median god, there are 5 lower gods, 26 paths level and demigod level strong, 100 super cage level powerhouses, 500 cage level powerhouses, 1000 quasi-shadows, and 10,000 elite jonins. This is the standard configuration of a second-tier warship. 26 paths level and demigod level powerhouses, this is a bit difficult. Dong Shenyao was also a little worried, because there are not so many 6 paths level and demigod level powerhouses in the entire ninja world. In addition, the number of super cage level and cage level powerhouses also exceeds the number of ninjas. It's really powerful. This is just a second level battleship. There are 108 battleships of this level in the Otsutsuki clan, and there are also 18 first level battleships. The strength of the Otsutsuki clan is really terrifying. After this moment of comparison, Dong Xinyao truly realized the horror of the Otsutsuki family, and at the same time understood why Otsutsuki Kagaya was so frightened. If it was someone who knew the strength of the Otsutsuki clan, they would be afraid when they were enemies. At this time, Dong Xinyao had to admire Otsutsuki Kagaya, and even had the courage to betray the Otsutsuki family. However, although he was a little worried, by now, the battle was unavoidable, and Dong Xinyao could only keep his worries in his heart. Alright, I haven't had a good fight since the 4th battle, and I don't know how strong is 4.1 now. At this moment, Dong Shenyao's body filled with fighting intent. Although the rank of the Eastern god Yaun is only a demigod now, it is hard to say in terms of strength. After all, he has comprehended more laws than some lower gods. In particular, the laws he comprehended belong to the ocean of time and space. With the same number of laws, the laws of the ocean of time and space were definitely stronger than the laws of the Hokage world. Wait is not the solution. This is my territory, and the Otsutsuki clan cannot be destroyed, so I can only take the initiative to attack. Dong Shenyao soon had a plan. In fact, the best way is to wait and see, but Dong Shenyao is afraid that the Otsutsuki clan will jump over the wall and attack ordinary people, so Dong Shenyao can only do it first. Thank you for the monthly ticket support of 4 Mouths and Mickey. Chapter 1028 Sneak Attack. Although guerrilla warfare is more powerful against Dong Shenyao and the others, it is best to divide the enemy and eat them. But that would probably anger the Otsutsuki clan and make them attack ordinary people. Although Tashinyao didn't pay much attention to the life and death of ordinary people, but no matter what, those were his subjects, and Tashinyao didn't want them to be slaughtered by the Otsutsuki clan, so he finally decided to take the initiative. The battleship of the Otsutsuki clan was docked over a forest. Since the dispatch of manpower to search for information, the battleship has been silent. In order to deal with these Otsutsuki clan people, Tsunade directly used the authority of his own world lord, slightly weakening the ability of the Otsutsuki clan Byakugan. Just after getting the information about the battleship from the captives, Tashinyao and the others set off. A large number of ninjas rushed to the battleship. Although Tsunade weakened the ability of these Otsutsuki people Byakugan, there were still middle-level god-level powerhouses among them. Once the distance was too close, it was easy to be discovered by the enemy, so Dong Shenyao and others finally stopped outside the forest, and then Tsunade several space passages were opened, and Uchiha Makoto, Hyuga Hina 22DN, and Uzumaki Kushina came out of the space passage one after another. Because they couldn't leave their respective worlds for long, they didn't come here until before the war. Then Kushina, Tsunade and other god-level powerhouses, as well as the demigod master Tashinyao, set off alone. Soon the group quietly approached the battleship in the sky, because everyone was strong, and Tsunade covered the atmosphere of everyone, so after they approached the battleship, they were not discovered by the Otsutsuki clan. Several people looked at each other, and then only heard Tsunade snort lightly. Go! Following Tsunade's order, everyone attacked the battleship not far away at the same time. Sword of Judgment. The first shot was from Hinata. A golden lightsaber that stretched for dozens of miles appeared in his hand, and then he slashed at the battleship with a sword. This is an upgraded version of the Golden Wheel, and its power has reached the god level. Tailed Beast Bomb. Kushina directly condensed a huge energy bomb and smashed it towards the battleship. The Spear of Death. A breath of death permeated. As the main god of the underworld, Uchiha Makoto naturally understands the laws of the underworld, and the moves he uses also have a strong breath of death. Immediately afterwards, Maitreya, Shion and the others also shot. Crash! Dong Shenyao waved his hand, and the golden circle of light spread out, heading straight for the battleship to invade. With everyone taking action, the aura could no longer be concealed, and a strong aura filled the air, and the whole ninja world felt it. And the Otsutsuki clan in the same battleship also felt the terrifying aura that often came from the outside world. What? The people of the Otsutsuki clan were stunned. Even Otsutsuki Momoshiki, a mid-level god-level powerhouse, was no exception. Although the Hokage world is a middle world, it is the bottom of the middle world. From Otsutsuki Momoshiki's point of view, it is impossible for a god to appear in the Hokage world, and even if there is only one person, Otsutsuki Kagaya, so after coming to this world, he will be so relaxed and not a little nervous. But now there are several god-level breaths coming out from the outside world, how can this not shock him? Because the incident happened suddenly and beyond the expectations of the Otsutsuki clan, no one in the battleship could react. When Momoshiki and the others came back to their senses, it was too late, and the battleship had already been attacked. Boom! The first to attack the battleship was Hinata's Sword of Judgment. This battleship was not easy to travel in the long river of time and space. It was an artifact, so Hinata's blow did not break the battleship. However, this battleship is only the most common artifact, and its biggest function is to travel through time and space, not a real defensive magic, so although this sword did not break the battleship, it also left a deep sword mark on the battleship. This is a closed battleship similar to a submarine. At this time, a crack appeared on the top of the battleship. At the same time, after being severely attacked, the space inside the battleship shook violently, and many people fell to the ground unsteadily. Quick! Don't let them break the battleship! Momoshiki yelled as he was about to shoot, and at this time, Kushina's tailed beast bomb had arrived. Boom! A huge energy bomb hit the battleship and exploded immediately. If the battleship was intact, it would have been able to stop the blow, but since it had been cracked by Hinata's sword before, the energy bomb completely shattered the battleship, and a large number of fragments flew out. At the same time, the battleship was the most there was a hole in it. The smoke caused by the explosion has not completely dissipated, and the Black Death Spear has penetrated through the hole. Boom! A breath of death erupted in the small world inside the battleship, and many warriors of the Otsutsuki clan could not resist being directly attacked by the force of death and lost their lives. This is just some of the aura emanating from the Spear of Death. If it breaks out completely, even the Six Paths level powerhouse will fall. Seeing that the Spear of Death was about to explode, several figures appeared, and they directly set up a barrier together. Boom! Finally, the Spear of Death exploded completely, and a strong force of death permeated, but because of the enchantment, it did not hurt the Otsutsuki warriors inside. The aftermath of the Death Spear blast dissipated, the attacks of Maitreya, Otsutsuki Kagaya and others came one after another. Boom! 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 The sound of explosions sounded one after another. At this time, the battleship could no longer hold on and completely disintegrated. For this reason, Momoshiki and others had to join forces to expand the barrier to wrap the soldiers in the battleship, lest they be attacked and killed. After suffering several attacks one after another, some cracks appeared on the barrier. At this moment, a golden light circle spread out and swept across the barrier. Immediately, this layer has been damaged and the barrier began to gradually dissipate. Not good. Momoshiki and the others were surprised when they saw this scene, but before they could repair the barrier, Tsunade's attack finally arrived. Tsunade's attack is a green brilliance. This brilliance doesn't seem to be destructive on the surface, but when it penetrates through the crack in the barrier, many people irradiated by the green light begin to grow old one by one. Completely decayed, leaving only ashes all over the place. This attack is somewhat similar to Dongshenyao's collapse, but only in the form of expression after being hit, but the principle is quite different. Chapter 1029 The melee begins. Green light swept across, and many warriors of the Otsutsuki clan were recruited. These people grew old quickly, and finally turned into a speck of dust and fell on the ground. This move looks similar to the collapse of Dongshenyao, but the principle is quite different. The disintegration of Dongshenyao is to turn people or things into sand. And Tsunade's move is called a life-threatening technique, and the life force of the person who is hit will quickly drain. When a person's vitality disappears, it also represents death. Moreover, this move is very domineering, and will not leave any vitality, so that the person who is hit will quickly age in a short period of time as if they have experienced hundreds of thousands of years, and finally decay and turn into fly ash. Of course, this trick is useless to the gods. After all, the vitality of the gods is infinite, but it is very useful for people under the gods, and it is even a threat to god-level powerhouses. After all, god-level powerhouses, it's just that the combat power is comparable to that of the gods, and the vitality is not infinite. Seeing that the green light was so powerful, Otsutsuki Momoshiki hurriedly took action to destroy the green light, but at this time there were still hundreds of Otsutsuki clan killed in battle, plus the people who were killed by the Spear of Death at the beginning. Now the battle had just begun, and nearly 1,000 people of the Otsutsuki family died. Bastard! Otsutsuki Momoshiki was furious. After all of his subordinates died. Seeing that the attack had stopped, Otsutsuki Momoshiki hurriedly controlled the barrier and fell down, and after dispersing the barrier and placing the warriors of the Otsutsuki clan on the ground, Otsutsuki Momoshiki flew up with the people, and finally separated tens of meters from Dongshenyao and others. Stand up. You just destroyed my battleship. Otsutsuki Momoshiki's face was gloomy at this time. The battleship was destroyed, and it would be troublesome to return to the Otsutsuki clan. The space-time ocean is extremely dangerous, and only true gods can set foot in it. Although god-level powerhouses are powerful in combat, due to their life level, it is impossible for ordinary god-level powerhouses to survive in the sea of time and space by their own abilities. That's right, invaders, damn you! Tsunade shouted angrily. Humph! It's just a group of natives, it's really courting death. Although Otsutsuki Momoshiki was a little surprised by the appearance of many gods in this world, he didn't take Tsunade and others seriously. As a member of the Otsutsuki clan, Momoshiki naturally has an arrogance when facing these natives. Otsutsuki Kagaya, I didn't expect you to dare to appear in front of me. Suddenly Otsutsuki Momoshiki saw Otsutsuki Kagaya, which made him burst out with a more terrifying murderous aura. At this time, he didn't understand why these indigenous people did not negotiate. Just attack him directly. Otsutsuki Kagaya must have played a role. Momoshiki, I didn't expect it to be you this time, but this place will be your grave, Otsutsuki Kagaya said firmly. Square root, gee, well, I hope you can do it, but don't worry, I won't kill you, I will you bring back waiting for the adults to be released. Otsutsuki Momoshiki didn't take Kagaya's threat in the slightest. Then, the adults and their nonsense are doing so much, and they can kill them all. If we finish the task early, we will find a way to go back sooner. At this time, the god-level powerhouse on the side was a little impatient. "Alright, kill." With an angry shout, Otsutsuki Momoshiki took the lead. "Die." I saw Otsutsuki Momoshiki dodged and went straight to Tsunade and the others to kill. "Your opponent is me." Tsunade stopped Momoshiki without hesitation. Bang! The fists of the two collided together, and they retreated at the same time after a blow. Tsunade took 2 steps back, though, and Momoshiki took 3 steps back. Great strength. Otsutsuki Momoshiki was startled. Immediately afterwards, the other 5 god-level powerhouses of the Otsutsuki clan also started to fight, and the war broke out. Hinata and others found an opponent one after another. Among them, Hinata, Kushina, Makoto and Kagaya were all looking for a one-on-one battle, but Maitreya and Shion joined forces to face a god-level powerhouse. Maitreya and Shion are not real-world masters, so their strength is a little worse than that of Hinata and others, so they will join forces to fight against the enemy. Dong Shenyao and Kurenai Yuhi were free, but they didn't watch the fun. Dong Shenyao first launched a flare into the sky, and then went to find trouble with those demigods with Kurenai Yuhi. Although Kurenai Yuhi is not yet a world god, but in terms of strength, it is comparable to the powerhouse of the lower gods. Of course, the strength is the lowest among the lower gods, but it is still no problem to deal with the demigods. Seeing that Dong Shenyao and the two flew over, the powerhouses above the 6 paths level among the Otsutsuki warriors also flew up. No more, no less, a total of 20. After taking a general look, Dong Shenyao found that among these people, there are 6 people who have reached the demigod level, and the rest are at the 6 paths level. However, the demigod level is also graded. Divine body, divine soul, divine power and law, as long as they have one, they are demigods. At this time, Dong Shenyao could only see that there were 6 demigods. As for what they rely on to become demigods, he could not tell for the time being, and he would only know after the fight. Battle. Immediately, Dong Shenyao directly intercepted the 2 demigods, while Kurenai Yuhi confronted the other 4 demigods. As for those 6 paths level powerhouses, there are naturally others to deal with. Just after the signal flare was sent out, the army that had been waiting outside the forest shot directly, and a large number of ninjas rushed towards the forest, and the ones running at the forefront were Neji, Senju Hashirama and others. Didn't take long for Neji and others to arrive. Neji was also a demigod-level powerhouse. Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara were both high-level 6 paths level, and they were both the strongest among their peers. In addition, Might Dai and Might Guy started the 8 inner. After Gates is at least a high-level 6 paths level powerhouse. There are also 2 brothers from Hyuga and Hyuga-Hazashi. After more than 10 years of practice, they have reached the 6 paths level, but the 3 of them are only elementary 6 paths. In addition to these human powerhouses, there are 2 6 paths level powerhouses, Kyubi, 9 Tails, and Slug Immortal. However, Slug Immortal's combat power is at the bottom of the same level. It is good at healing, but it is a good one. Auxiliary. Suddenly the war broke out. Although the powerhouses above the 6 paths level were at a disadvantage in the quantitative Jonin world, they did not show weakness after a real fight. Dong Shenyao and others can have many enemies with one enemy, and there is also the assistant Slug Immortal, so the 2 sides fought vigorously. At this time, Tsunade and Otsutsuki Momoshiki did not know when to fight, and Kushina and others had already left the forest and went to find the battlefield. The battle broke out, but in a short period of time, most of the entire deep forest was destroyed. Thank you for the monthly ticket support of Beastly Eggplant. Chapter 1030 Against the Demigods. The war broke out and the melee began. The gods such as Tsunade and the god-level powerhouses of the Otsutsuki clan went to their respective places to fight, and the sky was the battlefield of the powerhouses above the 6 paths level. Although they all deliberately restrained, they would occasionally spill over to the ground. After a while, large tracts of forest were destroyed. Because the Otsutsuki warriors were relatively close, many people were affected. The lucky ones were only injured, and the unlucky ones died directly. It was only the aftermath of the invasion that killed hundreds of Otsutsuki warriors, which made those six paths and demigod powerhouses of the Otsutsuki family depressed. In the end, they could only move the battlefield and leave the forest to the six paths. People below. Soon everyone disappeared in the sky, and in the forest, the two sides fought under the leadership of the Super Cage level powerhouse. Originally, the number of Super Cage level powerhouses in the Otsutsuki clan was much larger than that in the ninja world, but after the previous reduction, the number of Super Cage level powerhouses has now decreased. In addition to Cage level powerhouses, Quasi-Cage level and Elite Jonin level powerhouses number has decreased. Therefore, after the two sides fought, relying on the numerical advantage, the ninja world had the upper hand, but it was not easy to completely distinguish the winner. 740 Dao level and demigod level powerhouses were gradually divided into small battlefields, in which Kurenai Yuhi fought 4 demigod level powerhouses of the Otsutsuki clan alone. Although Kurenai Yuhi can be said to be the weakest sub-god, he is a real god-level powerhouse after all, and his strength is far from what ordinary demigods can match. Advantage. There is also Neji, who blocked 4 high-level 6 paths level powerhouses with demigod level strength. In addition, Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara joined forces to block the 3 high-level 6 paths powerhouses of the Otsutsuki clan. This time, the Otsutsuki clan came to a total of 14 6 paths level powerhouses, including 7 high-level 6 paths and 7 elementary 6 paths. Hyuga Yihu and Hyuga Yixin are both elementary 6 paths level, but as brothers, they cooperate tacitly. There is also Hyuga Hazashi, although it is worse, but it can also block an elementary 6 paths level. As for the last 3 primary 6 paths level powerhouses, their opponents are Might Dai and his son Kyubi, 9 Tails. As for the Slug Fairy, it has no specific opponent. Its duty is to treat. Once someone on its own side is injured, it will take care of it. And it's not just the 6 paths level powerhouses, those ordinary ninjas who are injured and the Slug Fairy will also shoot. Anyway, its innate supernatural ability can be transformed into thousands, which is very easy to use. Originally, Little Lee also wanted to participate in the war, but now he can also do all 8. However, it was finally stopped by Might Guy, who asked Little Lee to follow the large group to ensure the safety of the large group. At this time, the Might Dai father and son all opened the 7th door, but even so, the 2 and Kyubi, 9 Tails teamed up to face the 3 elementary 6 paths level powerhouses. After all, Might Guy's strength is a lot worse. Father, I'm going one step ahead. Might Guy said with a solemn expression, his momentum skyrocketing. Boom. Blood Yuhi color light Jinchuriki column rose to the sky. At this moment Might Guy's hair and eyebrows all turned blood Yuhi color. The strong eyes of the Otsutsuki clan with the leader's eyes narrowed. At this time, the aura emanating from Might Guy made them feel a huge threat. The 8th doors are fully opened. The strength beyond the 6 paths level can be obtained in a short period of time, even with the general demigod level powerhouse. This is not the first time that Might Guy has opened a dead door. With previous experience, Might Guy's strength has improved after opening the 8th door this time, and it can last longer. Just when Might Guy opened the 8th gate, Dong Shenyao was confronting 2 demigods in the sky. Boy, you are very courageous. You dare to fight the 2 of us alone. But unfortunately, you are courting death by doing this. Today, my 2 brothers will send you into reincarnation. They all exude a powerful momentum, and at the same time exude a blue and white light. There is a faint kamui in the momentum of the 2. If a person below the demigod level encounters this kind of coercion, his strength will immediately weaken a bit. It is because of this that Neji can fight against 4 with 1. Can also gain the upper hand. HMPH. I'm afraid you haven't. Dong Shenyao, not to be outdone, also released his aura of a demigod level powerhouse. Boom. The golden light radiated from Dong Shenyao's body. At this moment, he was like a god in golden armor. At least in appearance, he was much stronger than the 2 demigods of the Otsutsuki family. Boy, it's not easy for you to cultivate into a demigod in this world. Why do you have to work hard for the rebellious Otsutsuki Kagaya? Why don't you take refuge in my Otsutsuki clan? As long as you make a contribution, my Otsutsuki clan can help you become a god, you see. How's it going? The two Otsutsuki clan members did not rush to take action, but instead attracted Dong Xinyao. Apparently, the two thought that Dong Xinyao was trained by Otsutsuki Kagaya, in order to fight against the Otsutsuki clan. In fact, it's not just them. In the eyes of the Otsutsuki clan's powerhouses, the reason why there are so many god-level powerhouses in this world must be the credit of Otsutsuki Kagaya, in order to fight against the Otsutsuki clan. It's just that they knew that the culprit of all this was actually the demigod Dong Xinyao. It's useless to talk too much. If you want to fight, fight quickly. Why is there so much nonsense? Are you relying on this mouth to become a demigod? Dong Xinyao said with a look of disdain. Good boy, my brothers see you as a talented person, so they are good at persuading you. Since you are courting death, then we will fulfill you. Speaking of this, the two demigods stopped talking nonsense. These two are brothers. They have experienced many battles, big and small, and they have long since cultivated a high tacit understanding in countless battles, so they don't need to talk. Just a look, the two understand each other's thoughts, and immediately the demigod shone with blue light on his body rushed towards Dong Xinyao, while the demigod radiating white light waved his energy bullets to attack Dong Xinyao. Shinra Tensai, Almighty Push, sign. The repulsion was issued, and the energy bounced and flew out. Even the blue light demigod suffered a huge repulsion, and his body had to stop. Facing the energy bullet that flew back, Baiguang demigod hurriedly dodged, and taking this opportunity, Dong Xinyao used teleportation to come to Blu-ray demigod's side. Bang! A punch hit Blu-ray demigod, knocking him upside down and flying out. Chapter 1031 3 kills. Dong Shenyao's punch was very heavy. His strength was already great, and he increased the gravity. The most important thing is that this punch also applied the power of the law. With so much power combined, the power of this punch has reached the limit of a demigod. The four elements of becoming a god are divine power, divine body, divine soul, and laws. One can be considered a primary demigod, two are intermediate demigods, and three are high-level demigods. Although Dong Xinyao now only possesses divine power and understands the laws, but because he has a priesthood in this world and has more understanding of the laws than some lower-level gods, his real combat power is stronger than that of high-level demigods. And his current two opponents are only junior demigods. Through the fight, he found that both of them only possessed divine power. As for the law, Dong Xinyao didn't know whether they understood it or not. Anyway, when they just fought, they didn't use rules. However, Dong Xinyao guessed that even if these two demigods understood the laws, unless they understood the laws of the space-time ocean, they would not be able to use them in this world. Because the laws of each world are different, such as Tsunade, she understands the laws of the Hokage world. If she goes to other worlds and the laws change, then unless she understands the laws of the new world, she cannot use the laws of the new world. Force. It is precisely because of this that they have the strength to fight against the Otsutsuki family, Ta Xinyao. Fighting at home, they have a huge advantage. Dong Shenyao's punch directly knocked the blue light demigod upside down for thousands of meters, and even the blue divine power on his body was scattered a little, and finally fell directly to the ground. Brother. Seeing this scene, the demigod Baiguang couldn't help but exclaimed. He was a little worried, which made him a little distracted. Taking this opportunity, Dong Xinyao had already approached him. Come down for me too. Bang! Dong Xinyao stepped on the face of Baiguang demigod, and the strength of this foot was also not small. Suddenly Baiguang demigod fell like a meteor, only to hear a boom, and slammed directly on the ground, and immediately set off a burst. Dusty smoke. Relying on the eyes of God, Dong Xinyao saw that the white light demigod was stepped into the ground by himself, and directly smashed a large pit dozens of meters deep on the ground. Dong Shenyao's dominance was unforgiving. For the time being, he didn't care about the blue light demigod who was far away, but put most of his energy on the white light demigod. Together, Dong Shenyao grabbed the palm of his hand, and the earth suddenly closed. The white light demigod was buried in the earth before he came out, and this time Dong Shenyao used the power of the law to make the earth extraordinarily strong, even if it also takes a long time for a demigod to break open the earth. Die! Dong Shenyao shouted loudly, and then saw a golden lightsaber appear in his palm, and then the sword went straight to the ground and stabbed. No! Blu-ray demigod, who had already flown back at this time, couldn't help exclaiming when he saw this, and then hurriedly punched out. The Hyuga clan can use the 8 trigrams vacuum palm to injure people from the air, and the Otsutsuki clan are naturally more powerful. Immediately, the divine power condensed into a palm print and hit Dong Shenyao. Although Dong Shenyao's combat power is amazing now, even if he encounters a god, he has the power to fight, but he also has a disadvantage, that is, defense. Now Dong Shenyao is only a demigod body, and its defensive power is not comparable to that of a real god. Therefore, in the face of a blue light demigod's attack, Dong Shenyao will naturally not block it hard. Without any hesitation, Dong Shenyao gave up attacking the Baiguang demigod directly, first sent out a repulsive force to slightly resist the palm print, and then slashed down with the lightsaber in his hand. PFF'd. As soon as the sword went down, the huge blue palm print was directly cut in half, and then disappeared. Since you're courting death, I'll deal with you first. Seeing that Baiguang demigod couldn't come out for a while, Dong Shenyao prepared to deal with Blu-ray demigod first. 1 speed. Boom. Might Guy disappeared in an instant, and before the 3 6-paths level powerhouses of the Otsutsuki clan could react, an air wave had already hit him. Boom. A 6-paths level powerhouse was directly hit, and he didn't even have time to use the yin-yang escape defense. The original work, even Uchiha Madara, who is a high-level 6-paths level, can only be completely abused when facing Might Guy with all 8 doors, let alone these elementary 6-paths level powerhouses. In just one blow, the primary 6-paths level powerhouse was injured. Not only the clothes on his body were damaged, but even a horn unique to the Otsutsuki clan was shattered. 2nd speed. Man could react. Might Guy's second attack had arrived, followed by the 3rd and 4th. As for the 5th blow, Might Guy was not in a hurry to hit out, because the elementary 6-paths level powerhouse he attacked was already dead. Although it is also a 6-paths level powerhouse, the elementary 6-paths are far worse than the advanced 6-paths, just like demigods and true gods. Advanced 6-paths have strong vitality, and it is not difficult to regenerate from severed limbs. But the elementary 6-paths are different. Although they understand the yin-yang escape, their physical strength is quite different. In the end, Might Guy's body was knocked out after 4 attacks by Might Guy. Not good. Seeing that Might Guy was so ferocious, he killed 1 person at level 4, and the remaining 2 were scared, but it was impossible for them to escape because Might Guy had already targeted them. After opening the door to death, Might Guy's speed has surpassed that of 6-paths level powerhouses, and even some demigods can't match him. 5 speed. Boom. PFF'd. This season, it directly hit a primary 6-paths powerhouse, and half of his body was blown up. Night Guy. Might Guy didn't hesitate, and directly used the strongest secret. He knew that he would not live long, so he wanted to kill more enemies in the last time. Boom. The rich blood energy surrounded Might Guy, and he soon turned into a blood-colored dragon. Die. PFF'd. The seriously injured primary 6-paths level powerhouse did not block a move, and was easily killed by the blood-colored dragon's claw, and then the dragon's mouth directly bit the last primary 6-paths level powerhouse. The 6-paths level powerhouse persisted for a while, but did not persist for too long, and soon died in the dragon's mouth, blood spilling on the ground. 3 people in a row. Might Guy felt like he couldn't hold on anymore. He would die in half a minute at most. This was already much better than the first time he opened the 8th gate, and Might Guy immediately began to search for opponents. Soon Might Guy was staring at a person. Chapter 1032 Might Guy _ After beheading 3 enemies, Might Guy took advantage of the time remaining after opening the 8th gate to start looking for the next target. It didn't take long for his eyes to fall on a figure thousands of meters away. At this time Hyuga Hazashi was fighting a 6 paths level powerhouse of the Otsutsuki clan. Hyuga Hazashi has not evolved into Tenseigan due to Byakugan evolution, but has surpassed ordinary Byakugan, so his strength has reached 6 paths level. At this time, after he fought with the Otsutsuki clan powerhouse, the fighting patterns of both sides were similar. Both of them had Byakugan. Although the 6 paths level powerhouse of the Otsutsuki clan would not use the gentle fist method, they were similar. Not only specializes in Hyuga Hazashi's acupuncture points, but can also launch long-range attacks. For a time, the two sides were inextricably fighting, and it was impossible to tell the winner in a short period of time. Just when Hyuga Hazashi was about to procrastinate like this, he suddenly felt a surging momentum rising from a distance. He is no stranger to this momentum, it is Might Guy's. It seems that he has opened all 8 doors. Hey, I don't know if the adults can still resurrect him. Hyuga Hazashi heart Chunin couldn't help sighing. The 8 doors fully opened means death, unless there is a 6 paths level powerhouse who has mastered yin and yang. Shot. Thorough master yin-yang escape can become a 6 paths level powerhouse, but it does not mean that a 6 paths level powerhouse must be a master yin-yang escape. The 6 paths level is a representation of strength. Just like Might Guy, opening the 7th door can be comparable to the 6 paths level powerhouse, but he does not have the master yin and yang escape. There are endless time and space, countless worlds, and various cultivation methods. Among them, there are not many people who have reached the 6 paths level, but master yin and yang escape. This is just a cultivation method in the Hokage world. Otsutsuki clan who came at this time, not all those who reached the 6 paths level were masters. In the same way, not everyone has the powerful recovery ability of Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. However, Might Guy didn't know this. He thought that the recovery ability of high-level 6 paths level powerhouses was very strong, so the targets he chose at this time were all primary 6 paths level powerhouses. After noticing the disappearance of a few breaths, the Otsutsuki warriors who were with Hyuga Hazashi suddenly changed their expressions, because he found that the disappearing breaths were all from the Otsutsuki family. How is it possible that so many people died all at once? Who did it? Could it be that powerful aura just now? For some reason, a bad premonition appeared in his heart at this time. Ow! A dragon roar sounded, and I saw a blood-colored dragon pounced from a distance. After sensing a powerful momentum approaching him, the face of the warrior Otsutsuki who was fighting Hyuga Hazashi suddenly changed. Not good. At this point he wanted to escape, but it was too late. Might Guy had already approached him. Die. PFF'd. The dragon claw took it, and the Otsutsuki warrior was shot directly to the ground. I'm coming. Hyuga Hazashi shouted at this time. He knew that Might Guy had limited time, so he didn't waste his time. At this time, the Otsutsuki warrior was seriously injured, and Hyuga Hazashi was fully capable of beheading him. Might Guy didn't stop after hearing the words, and went straight to another battlefield. Hyuga Hazashi beckoned to the next, and suddenly a gravitational force was released, and the Otsutsuki warrior who was falling in a big pit suddenly flew up. Not good. The man's expression changed, trying to break free from the suction. If it was the peak period, he could indeed get rid of it, but now that he was seriously injured, he was unable to break free. Gentle fist law 8 trigrams 256 palms. Whoosh whoosh. Hyuga Hazashi danced with both hands, and a palm shadow suddenly appeared in front of him. Facing this blow, the Otsutsuki warrior could only bite Kiba to resist. Bang, bang, bang. More than 200 palms, of which more than 40 palms hit the Otsutsuki warrior, and the man was injured more and more. And just when Hyuga Hazashi had the upper hand, Might Guy had approached the battlefield of the two brothers of Hyuga's family. At this time, the two teamed up to fight against 3 Otsutsuki warriors, and there was no difference between you and me. Aware of Might Guy's arrival, the three Otsutsuki warriors immediately became vigilant. Die. Might Guy's fire of life was about to wither at this time. After he realized that he had only one strength left, he directly rushed towards the three Datongu warriors with all his strength. After the two brothers from the Hyuga family looked at each other, they immediately joined forces to entangle the two Otsutsuki warriors. Boom. The end, the Otsutsuki warrior was directly hit by the blood-colored dragon. Suddenly, the explosion sounded, and waves of air spread. Even the Hyuga family had to avoid the edge for a while. When everything calmed down, there were two more people on the ground. One of them is Might Guy, who is like Coke, and the other is the Six Paths level powerhouse of the Otsutsuki family, who has lost most of his body. This man does not have the ability of Uchiha Madara, he has lost half of his body, and it seems that he will not survive. And Might Guy's current situation is also precarious, and it will fall completely within half a minute. At this moment, the Slug Fairy arrived in time, looked at Might Guy on the ground, and quickly separated a clone to start treating him. With one less enemy, the two brothers of Hyuga's family suddenly made Kamui, suppressing the two in one fell swoop, but it is still difficult to win completely. Huh! The golden light flashed, and I saw Dong Shenyao waving the golden lightsaber in his hand straight to the blue light demigod. Seeing Dong Shenyao attacking, the blue-ray demigod knew that he was powerful, so he planned to avoid it. But suddenly he found that the surrounding space was blocked, and it was too late to dodge. Bite Kiba, the blue light demigod can only fully mobilize the divine power within the group, and directly evolve a huge palm print to resist the falling golden lightsaber. Bang! The blade slashed on the blue palm print, and the two 4.5s were deadlocked. After a breath of time, only hearing a click, a crack appeared on the palm print, and the blue light demigod's complexion suddenly changed. As time went by, the crack became bigger and bigger, and after 5 seconds, the palm print was completely shattered, and then the lightsaber slashed. PFF'd. Blood splattered, and an arm fell to the ground. I saw that the blue light demigod was cut off by Dong Shenyao's sword. If he hadn't avoided it in time, I'm afraid the whole person would have been split in half. But in the end it was a demigod. This person's body was also a demigod, so the blood was soon stopped, and the lost arm began to recover slowly. However, Dong Shenyao did not give him a chance to recover. Kill! With a loud shout, Dong Shenyao's offensive became even more violent. Chapter 1033 Kill the Demigods. After a sword slashed off the arm of Blu-ray demigod, before he could recover, Dong Shenyao took advantage of the victory to pursue. Kill! With a loud shout, Dong Shenyao stabbed the blue light demigod with a sword as fast as a sword. Of swordsmanship, Dong Shenyao is still above Hatake Sakumo, and the Blu-ray demigod is not an opponent of Dong Shenyao, not to mention that he is now missing an arm. Since Dong Shenyao added the power of the law to the attack, the power of the law remained at the wound of the blue light demigod, which greatly slowed his recovery speed. In the blink of an eye, the two have been fighting for more than 10 seconds. At this time, the Blu-ray demigod has added a few more wounds, all of which were stabbed by Dong Shenyao with the lightsaber in his hand, and the holes continued to flow out of blood. Die! Suddenly, Dong Shenyao seized a flaw in the blue light demigod, burst into his mouth, and stabbed with a sword. PFF'd. The golden lightsaber pierced directly into the heart of the blue light demigod. As for the escort formed by the use of divine power on his body, it was like a piece of paper and did not play the slightest role. If Dong Shenyao didn't understand the law, the divine armor would indeed be a problem. But unfortunately, in the face of the long sword mixed with the power of the law, the divine armor appears to be a bit fragile. It has to be said that the law is indeed a very powerful thing. It is also the foundation of gods. Both are demigods, and there is a big difference between whether they understand the laws or not. The heart was severely damaged, and even the demigods were very uncomfortable, but they would not die directly. However, the power of the law remaining in his body greatly reduced the strength of the Blu-ray demigod. Boom! The ground in the distance suddenly exploded, and the white light demigod who had been buried in the ground finally escaped. It seems that we need to deal with him quickly. Thinking of this, a sneer appeared on the corner of Dong Shenyao's mouth. Bansho Tenon, Universal Pull. Dong Shenyao waved his hand, and suddenly a suction force came out, and the blue light demigod flew towards Dong Shenyao uncontrollably. Not good. Blu-ray demigod was startled, seeing that he could not get rid of this suction. He immediately waved his palms to hit Dong Shenyao, trying to make Dong Shenyao let go. Bang! PFF'd. The attacks of the two hit each other at the same time. At this time, the blue light demigod hit Dong Shenyao's heart and abdomen with both hands, and the lightsaber in Dong Shenyao's hand had already stabbed into the forehead. The power of the law invaded, and suddenly the soul of the demigod of the Blu-ray demigod was severely damaged and was directly scattered. At this point, the demigod of the Blu-ray was completely dead. As for Dong Shenyao, there was nothing wrong. The divine armor on his body was mixed with the power of the law. The blue light demigod's attack didn't even break the divine armor, let alone hurt Dong Shenyao. Brother. As soon as Baiguang demigod came out, he saw Blu-ray demigod being killed, which made him cry out in grief. I'm going to kill you. With a roar, Baiguang demigod waved his hands, and suddenly his divine power turned into countless energy bombs, hitting Dong Shenyao overwhelmingly. After Dong Shenyao retracted his lightsaber, a stream of blood spurted out of the wound, and then the corpse of Blu-ray demigod fell straight down. Shinra Tensai, Almighty Push, sign. Dong Shenyao raised his hand, and all the energy bombs that were called flew out backwards, and none of them could get close to Dong Shenyao. Damn, I want to avenge my brother. Seeing that the energy bomb didn't work, Baiguang demigod roared and rushed towards Dong Shenyao. Vengeance. Humph. Since you and your brother have such a good relationship, I'll send you back together. Said, Dong Shenyao took a sword in one hand and stepped out. In an instant, he had come to the front of the Baiguang demigod, and then slashed out with a sword. Die! Hyuga Hazashi shouted angrily, and slapped the Otsutsuki warrior directly in the heart. PFF'd. Chakra was instilled into his body, and his heart was immediately shattered. He is only a 6 paths level powerhouse, not a demigod, nor does he understand the yin and yang escape, so after his heart was broken, he soon became silent. Seeing this, Hyuga Hazashi raised his hand and put the body on the ground. After solving the opponent, Hyuga Hazashi took a short rest, and then went straight to the battlefield where the two brothers of Hyuga's family were. At this time, Might Dai did not stop after his son left, and went directly to support Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. As for Kyuubi, Nine Tails, he also followed. At this time, Senju Hashirama and the two were fighting against 3 high-level 6 paths level powerhouses. The two were not afraid of each other when they joined forces, but it was difficult to win. At this moment, Might Dai arrived. After Might Dai opened the 7th gate, his combat power was at the level of elementary 6 paths, and Kyuubi, Nine Tails, was similar in strength to him. Although they can't face high-level 6 paths level powerhouses head-on, it's okay to interfere a little. As for opening the 8th door, Might Dai didn't think about it for the time being. Not that Might Dai is afraid of death, but the situation is not bad, and Might Dai does not need to open the 8th door. In this case, Might Dai naturally wants to keep his whole cards and use them at a critical time. With Might Dai on the side, Senju Hashirama slowly gained the upper hand. At this time, the army of the ninja world and the army of the Otsutsuki clan had already fought. Under the fighting between the two sides, the forest had already been destroyed. Although there are fewer super cage level powerhouses in the ninja world than the Otsutsuki clan, there are more cage level powerhouses than the other party, so with the help of this large number of cage level powerhouses, the two sides are inextricably fighting. There is a slug immortal in the world of Forbearance 657 who is responsible for the treatment. After all, the slug immortal is only a cure, not a resurrection. Some people die so quickly that they don't even have time to heal the slug immortal. Baiguang demigod's strength is similar to his brother's. Before the two of them fought against Dong Shenyao together, they were not opponents, not to mention that he was the only one left now. Although relying on the anger in his heart, the strength of the White Light Warrior has increased slightly. Under his constant onslaught, Dong Shenyao can only continue to defend. But this is not a long-term thing after all. After playing for a while, Dong Shenyao adapted to his offensive, and suddenly changed from defense to attack. Gravity field. The gravity around him increased instantly, which made Baiguang Demigod's movements stagnate for a while, and Dong Shenyao took this opportunity to slash his sword. PFF'd. Blood sputtered out, and there was a 2-foot-long wound on Baiguang Demigod's chest, and blood continued to flow out. Then Dong Shenyao kicked out and directly kicked Baiguang Demigod's abdomen, kicking him to the ground with a huge force. In the process of Baiguang Demigod's whereabouts, diamond thorns appeared on the ground. When he landed, the hard diamond thorns directly pierced his divine armor and penetrated into his body. Middle. At this time, Baiguang Demigod was hit hard in an instant, as if he was being pierced by Wanjian. Chapter 1034 The Power of Judgment Part 1. The vitality of the demigod-level powerhouse is very tenacious, and the White Light Demigod has been pierced by several diamond thorns, and even his neck has been pierced, and he did not die immediately. Even if it weren't for the fact that a force of law had invaded his body at this time, it would not take long for this injury to recover. Dong Shenyao naturally wouldn't give Baiguang Demigod a chance to recover. He fell directly to the ground, and then he picked up his sword and dropped it. PFF'd. Blood splattered, and a blood Jinchuriki column spewed out more than 10 feet away, and the head of the White Light Demigod rolled down. For a demigod, physical injuries are nothing. As long as the soul is still alive, it is not considered death. At this time, although his head was lost, the soul of Baiguang Demigod had nothing to do, so even if his head was lost, he could still speak. The Otsutsuki family won't let you go. Even if you kill us, it's useless. The power of the Otsutsuki family is not something you can fight against. Sooner or later, you will die, ha ha ha. I don't know when I will die, but one thing I know is that you are going to die now. After speaking, Dong Shenyao stabbed Baiguang Demigod's head with a sword, and the power of the law exploded immediately. After smashing his demigod soul, Baiguang Demigod was completely dead at this moment. Killing 2 demigods in a row, although Dong Shenyao was not injured, he consumed most of his divine power. After all, using the law still consumes divine power. The sky, Hinata was fighting fiercely with a god-level powerhouse of the Otsutsuki clan. This god-level powerhouse did not comprehend the law, and even his soul and body were not gods and souls, but only possessed divine power. If calculated according to the level of gods, he was just a demigod. However, the strength of this person has surpassed that of a demigod, which is comparable to that of a lower god-level powerhouse. Hinata is only a newcomer to the lower gods, and he has not experienced many battles. The combat experience is far less than that of the strong man of the Otsutsuki family, so he fell into a disadvantage not long after the fight. Even if Hinata understands the law and can use the power of the law cannot cause too much damage to the strong people of the Otsutsuki clan. The law is indeed powerful, but in the end it is not omnipotent. Just like the Super Saiyans in Dragon Ball, although they are not gods, they definitely have the strength to completely abuse ordinary gods, and even the power of ordinary laws cannot hurt them. More than 10 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. At this time, Hinata's situation was in a crisis. If she hadn't possessed a divine body and had a strong recovery ability, I'm afraid she would have been injured by now. Little girl, you're not my opponent, so let's just grab it. If I'm not mistaken, your eyes should be Tensagen. I think you have the blood of our Otsutsuki clan. And this kind of eyes is even owned by our Otsutsuki clan. Not much, as long as you take refuge with us, you will surely gain a high status in the future. The god-level powerhouse of Otsutsuki actually began to persuade him to surrender. Oh, then I don't know what benefits I can get. Hinata knew that he was not an opponent, so he made a false statement with the opponent. Seeing Hinata's heartbeat, the strong Otsutsuki did slow down his offensive and began to introduce, as long as you take refuge in us, your strength will definitely be focused on training, and it is possible to become a high-level god at that time. Then how can you be sure you're telling the truth and not lying to me? Hinata asked. At this time, she seemed to be really moved and wanted to surrender. Don't worry, although I, Otsutsuki Seichi, are not a high-ranking member of the clan, I have some status. If I guarantee you, I will never treat you badly. That's right. I'm really moved by what you said, but unfortunately, I won't agree to you. The Sword of Judgment. Hinata suddenly slashed out, hitting Otsutsuki Seichi by surprise, and was scratched on the shoulder. There was a wound. Even Otsutsuki Seichi couldn't heal the wound for a while due to the power of the law remaining on it. Bastard, you dare to play with me. Otsutsuki was furious. At this time, he didn't know why. Hinata said that before just to delay time. Anger, Otsutsuki stepped up his attack for a while, which made Hinata a little stretched. No, if I continue like this, I will definitely die at his hands. What should I do? Hinata was anxious at this moment. Not to mention defeating the opponent, at least hold the enemy back and prevent him from dealing with others. That's right. Suddenly, a flash of light flashed in Hinata's mind, and he had a plan in his heart. With an idea, Hinata began to figure it out in his mind. Hopefully it works. It didn't take long for Hinata to come up with a plan. Soon the two fought again for a few minutes, when Hinata suddenly revealed a flaw. Otsutsuki Seichi, as a battle-hardened strong man, naturally would not miss this opportunity, and immediately took advantage of this opportunity to punch her in the abdomen. Bang! After one hit, Hinata fell back. Although he was well prepared, Hinata was injured this time. Fortunately, Otsutsuki Seichi doesn't know how to rule, so these injuries can be recovered quickly. After flying out, Hinata didn't stop and ran straight into the distance. Want to run away? Dream. At this time, Otsutsuki Seichi hated Hinata to death, and naturally would not let her run away, and immediately chased after him. In this way, the two flew out for hundreds of miles one after the other. Suddenly, Hinata's eyes narrowed, and he directly opened a space door, and then went straight in without hesitation. When Hinata entered, the space door began to close. Seeing this, Otsutsuki hurriedly accelerated. He didn't care what was behind the space door at this time, and didn't even think about whether there would be an ambush. Just when the space door was about to close completely, he finally flew in. Passing through the space door, the next moment Otsutsuki Seichi appeared in another space. At a glance, there is a forest below, but other than that, it is not much different from the ninja world. Otsutsuki Seichi didn't care where it was, and looked up to see Hinata parked not far away, which made him relieved. Little girl, are you running? Why didn't you run, or do you have any cards? You might as well use it. Otsutsuki Seichi teased. HMPH, this is your burial place, go die. Hinata snorted, then waved at Otsutsuki. At this moment, the color of the world changed, and invisible forces gathered in Hinata's hands, followed by a powerful repulsive bombardment towards Otsutsuki Seichi. Not good. Chapter 1035 The Power of Judgment Part 2. Not good. Otsutsuki Cheng was startled. At this time, he found that Hinata's momentum had greatly increased and he had surpassed him, which made him have a bad premonition in his heart, and then a repulsive force hit him, and Otsutsuki Cheng flew out. Seeing that Otsutsuki Seichi was kicked into the air by himself, Hinata took the lead and flew straight up, then slapped him in the air. The golden divine power gathered together, and finally turned into a huge palm print, and then the power of the heavens merged into the palm print, and went straight to Otsutsuki Makoto slapped it. After Otsutsuki Seichi stopped, the palm print had already fallen. At this time, he only felt that the space around him was frozen, and at the same time, mysterious energy fell on him, making his strength suppressed. This is the power of the world. It's not good. She is the world master. This is her world. Otsutsuki Seichi is also a well-informed person, and he quickly reacted. The World Master is an invincible existence in his own world. Although it is a bit exaggerated to say that, he can indeed greatly enhance his own strength in his own world. As for how much it can be enhanced, it is related to the level of the world. Heaven is just a subsidiary world, and it doesn't take long to open up a world. Although the development of heaven is fairly rapid due to Dong Shenyao's 490 methods, its level is not very high. But it is enough to bless Hinata's strength to the peak of the next god. And celestial power can not only enhance the strength of Hinata, but also suppress the enemy. Under this situation, Hinata's chances of winning are greatly increased. All of these are Hinata's calculations. She knows that in the ninja world, she is not the opponent of Otsutsuki Seichi. Only in the heavenly world will she have some chances of winning on her own territory. So she deliberately revealed her flaws, and then made Otsutsuki Seichi think she was going to run away, which led Otsutsuki Seichi into the heaven. In fact, Otsutsuki's fault for being careless and despising Hinata a little bit, but if he was more careful and didn't follow Hinata in, then it wouldn't be like this. But now it's too late to say anything. Now Otsutsuki Seichi is already a turtle in a urn, and even now he can't even leave the heaven. Hinata has used the power of the heaven to block the space, and Otsutsuki Seichi has no ability to break. Seeing that the palm print was about to hit him, Otsutsuki Makoto quickly resisted. "Break it for me." A loud roar, Otsutsuki Cheng swung a pair of fists, and a wave of divine power gathered together. At this time, Otsutsuki Chungyi was full of blue light and went straight to the palm print. Boom! When Otsutsuki Seichi's fists hit the palm print, there was a sudden explosion, and a dazzling light burst out at the same time. The terrifying air wave spread, but after approaching Hinata, the air wave quickly dissipated, and finally turned into a breeze and brushed her cheek. Under Tensegan, Otsutsuki Seichi's situation was clear to Hinata. This palm had already injured Otsutsuki Seichi, and there was blood on the corners of his mouth, but it was only a minor injury. As expected of the strong Otsutsuki clan, it's not easy, but you're still going to die. At this moment, a trace of killing intent flashed in Hinata's eyes. Sword of Judgment. The golden long sword appeared, and it looked similar to the lightsaber condensed by Dong Shenyao, but the breath contained in it was different. Dong Shenyao's lightsaber was condensed using divine power and the law of the earth. It looked thin, but it was heavy. And Hinata's golden lightsaber is made of divine power plus the power of the heavens and the law of judgment and the law of the sky. It is not as heavy as Dong Shenyao's lightsaber, but it pays more attention to destructive power. Cut. With a wave of Hinata's hand, the time sword suddenly fell. Although the two were separated by more than 100 meters at this time, when the lightsaber fell, it quickly became larger. At this time, Otsutsuki Seichi hadn't recovered, and even the light around him had not completely dissipated. Sensing a sense of threat falling from the sky, Seichi Otsutsuki didn't have time to think about what happened, and hurriedly punched the sky with both fists. Boom! Ah! After a blow, Otsutsuki Seichi screamed, and then saw an arm fall to the ground. This is exactly what Otsutsuki Seichi had, his left arm chopped off by Hinata's sword. Whoosh! A teleport, Hinata approached Otsutsuki Seichi and stabbed with a sword. At this time, Otsutsuki Seichi was already injured, so he didn't dare to accept Hinata's attack, and hurriedly dodged in the face of the stabbing sword. Hinata's swordsmanship is far inferior to Tashinyao, so even if Otsutsuki Seichi is injured, it is not easy to kill him. At this time, the thunder of the heavens continued to sound, obviously feeling the anger of Hinata as the master. Otsutsuki Seichi felt that the atmosphere around him was very depressed, and there was a bad premonition in his heart, but now it is impossible for him to escape, so for now, the only way is to kill Hinata, or delay time and wait for others to rescue. Boom! Thunder sounded, and then saw a thunderbolt falling from the sky, heading straight for Otsutsuki Makoto. The Thunder of Judgment. This is not an ordinary thunderbolt, but it is condensed by Hinata, and it is issued with the help of the priesthood of the God of Judgment. Boom! of judgment was very powerful, and Otsutsuki Seichi staggered, which made his defense vulnerable. Hinata took this opportunity to stab out a sword and stabbed directly into his thigh. PFF'd. Blood splattered and one of Otsutsuki's legs was chopped off by Hinata. In the blink of an eye, another few minutes passed. At this time, Otsutsuki's legs had disappeared, only one arm was left on his limbs, and his body was covered with sword marks. A bloody man. Otsutsuki Seichi, in the name of the god of judgment, I condemn you and punish you. As Hinata's voice fell, a stream of energy gathered in the sky, and finally turned into a giant sword. I, Otsutsuki, have fought and killed gods. You are not qualified to judge me. Block me. Boom. The explosion sounded, the light Jinchuriki column collided with the giant sword, and a shock wave spread to the surroundings, and even Hinata stepped back. PFF'd. After a stalemate for a few seconds, the giant sword finally broke through the obstruction of divine power, directly piercing Otsutsuki Seichi's body. And the giant sword was pierced from the top of his head, directly splitting him in half, and his soul was completely annihilated. Finally dead. Feeling that Otsutsuki Seichi's life had dissipated, Hinata breathed a sigh of relief, and a tired look appeared on his face. Otsutsuki Makoto is dead, but the battle isn't over yet, I have to do my best. Hinata thought to himself. Chapter 1036 Destroy. Finally recovered. On the ground, Dong Shenyao, who had been sitting cross-legged on the ground, suddenly stood up. After training, the divine power that had been consumed before was completely recovered. I don't know what happened to the others. I hope nothing happens. Thinking of this, two golden rays of light burst into Dong Shenyao's eyes, and then he raised his head and looked around. The eyes of God, looking up at the 9 heavens, and looking down at the 9 seclusion, everything in the ninja world cannot escape his eyes. Under the gaze of Dong Shenyao, he can see the situation of everyone clearly. Relieved. At this time, the battle between the two sides under the 6 paths level is still in a stalemate, and the winner cannot be determined in a short time. Although Might Guy was seriously injured, the 6 paths level powerhouses of the Otsutsuki family were less than half, and they were obviously Might Guy's masterpiece. At this time, Hyuga Hazashi and the Hyuga family joined forces to stabilize the 2 strong men of the Otsutsuki clan. Uchiha Madara's 3 and 1 beast also have the upper hand, and depending on their situation, if they continue to fight, the chance of winning is not small. In addition, there is Neji, who alone fights 4 high-level 6 paths level powerhouses. At this time, Neji was already a demigod, and not only possessed divine power, but also comprehended some laws. Although the understanding of laws was far less than that of Dong Shenyao, it was enough to deal with 6 paths level powerhouses. Therefore, although Neji was 1-4, but he did not lose the wind at all, and the two sides fought vigorously. Seeing that Neji was not in danger, Dong Shenyao ignored him. After that, Dong Shenyao saw Tsunade, Kushina and others again. At this time, except for Kushina and Makoto, everyone else was doing well, so Dong Shenyao wondered if he wanted to support the 2 girls. But just as he was thinking about when I went to support someone, I suddenly found that Hinata had killed the opponent. Okay, Hinata is really smart. He knows how to lead the enemy to the celestial realm and use the power of the celestial realm. If Kushina does the same, using the power of the psychic realm is enough to kill the enemy. Dong Shenyao just thought of this, as if he had a good heart. Kushina also used a strategy to introduce the enemy into the psychic world. Seeing this, Dong Shenyao was relieved. Although the battle was not over yet, he knew that the final result was almost Kushina. 1. Then go to support Makoto. Thinking of this, Dong Shenyao was ready to go, but it stopped not long after he flew out, because he found that Hinata was also moving. After Hinata beheaded Otsutsuki Seichi, she recovered quickly thanks to the power of the heavens. After returning to the ninja world, relying on Tensegan, Hinata also saw everyone's situation. Seeing that Makoto's situation was in danger, she hurried over to help. WQ. Although Makoto is the lord of the underworld, Unlike Hinata and Kushina, the underworld is a special place where the flesh and body cannot enter. It's just that Makoto also thought about introducing the opponent into the underworld, but it didn't work. When the enemy noticed the special nature of the underworld, they were very alert and did not enter, which made Makoto's plan fail. And, seeing that Uchiha Makoto was in danger, Hinata hurried over. With Hinata's help, even if they can't defeat their opponents, at least they won't be in danger for a short time, so I'll go help Kurenai Yuhi. In the end, Dong Shenyao could only change his decision. Reason to help Kurenai Yuhi is not because she has fallen behind. Although Kurenai Yuhi was 1 against 4, just like Neji, Kurenai Yuhi did not fall behind. After all, it is a god-level powerhouse, and even the weakest gods are not comparable to these demigods, especially in the ninja world. 2 of the 4 demigods fighting Kurenai Yuhi actually understood the law, but they understood the law of other worlds. After arriving in the world of Hokage, because the law was different, they could not use the power of the law at all. Facing the 4 demigods who can only use divine power and have no divine body or soul, Kurenai Yuhi is relatively easy. Dong Shenyao chose to help Kurenai Yuhi, mainly to let Kurenai Yuhi free his hands as soon as possible so that he could help others. With Dong Shenyao's strength, even helping Tsunade and the others now wouldn't help much. After all, he's not a god now. On the contrary, if he helped Kushina, his strength and Kurenai Yuhi would be enough to quickly solve those 4 enemies. At this time, Kurenai Yuhi and several people are fighting in the sky. Kurenai Yuhi is best at demonic illusion. If it is 1-on-1, she can completely kill a demigod. But now with 1 enemy and 4, although they have the upper hand, it will take some time to kill the 4. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared near the battlefield. At this time, the space around the battlefield was shaking, and Dong Shenyao couldn't teleport directly, but it was no problem to approach the battlefield. After approaching, an invisible wave spread out from around Dong Shenyao. Gravity field. What's going on? The 4 demigods were stunned. They only felt that their bodies suddenly became heavy, and even their demigods couldn't bear it. Kurenai Yuhi would not miss this opportunity. Demonic illusion field. An instant, the 4 demigods were pulled into the demonic illusion space by Kurenai Yuhi, but dealing with 4 demigods at the same time, even Kurenai Yuhi couldn't confuse them for too long. At most, the 4 demigods would wake up in 1 breath. But for Dong Shenyao, 1 breath was enough time. PFF'd. The golden lightsaber pierced directly into a demigod's mind, and the power of the law exploded, instantly shattering his demigod's soul. Since he was still in an illusion, he didn't even know how he died. Crash. At this time, the remaining 3 demigods were about to break free from the environment, and there was not enough time left for Dong Shenyao to kill another person, so he did not rush to kill. A golden light circle spread out and passed directly through the bodies of the 3 demigods. The next moment the 3 demigods were already awake, but before they could see the situation around them, they only felt that their bodies were stiff for a while, and the cells in their bodies appeared. Change. Some cells have turned into rocks. Not good. The 3 demigods were startled and quickly mobilized their divine power to suppress them, which made their bodies stiff. Great opportunity. Dong Shenyao naturally would not miss it, and in the blink of an eye he had come to a demigod and stabbed with the sharp blade in his hand. Hurry up! The demigod who was attacked shouted in his heart, but his body just wouldn't obey. PFF'd. Blood splattered, and the demigod also fell into the hands of Dong Shenyao. Chapter 1037 The Fall of 2 Gods Part 1. From the appearance of Dong Shenyao to his beheading of 2 demigods, the whole process took less than 5 seconds. When he killed the second demigod, the remaining 2 demigods finally expelled the strange energy in their bodies, and the cells that had been turned into sand and stones were recovered. The 2 demigods looked at each other and understood each other's meaning. Escape. Without the slightest hesitation, the 2 flew directly towards 2 different directions. It's a fool to not escape now. When there were only 4 of them, they barely fought a tie with Kurenai Yuhi. Now there are only 2 people left, and Kurenai Yuhi has another powerful helper. How could they be opponents? Can you run away? Dong Shenyao and Kurenai Yuhi sneered at the same time when they saw that they were about to run away. Since the two were still in the field of gravity at this time, their speed was greatly reduced, and they were caught up by Kurenai Yuhi before they could fly 500 meters. Down. A Yuhi light flashed in Kurenai Yuhi's eyes, and the next moment, the demigod who was looking at her suddenly stopped, and his eyes became dull at the same time. Before facing 4 demigods at the same time, Kurenai Yuhi can use demonic illusion to confuse them, let alone facing one. At this point, the demigod was immersed in demonic illusion, and it was difficult to break free. At the same time, Dong Shenyao quickly caught up with a demigod. Die. Dong Shenyao stabbed out with a sword, and immediately shot out a sword energy. PFF'd. Blood spilled from the void, and since the demigod avoided it in time, only a wound was drawn on the shoulder. Seeing that only Dong Shenyao was chasing after him, a fierce light flashed in the demigod's eyes. It's just a demigod, I'm afraid of you alone. The demigod of the Otsutsuki clan gave up running away, and rushed towards Dong Shenyao instead. Kill. The psychic world. At this time, Kushina changed her previous decline and got the blessing of the power of the psychic world. At this time, Kushina's strength increased greatly, which made her self-confidence burst. Bang! One punch, the lower god-level master of the Otsutsuki clan was instantly knocked out. Humph! You just hit me, now it's my turn. With a cold snort, Kushina's golden divine power rose up. Under the action of the law of beasts, the divine power turned into a QB, 9 tails, and went straight the next god pounced. Damn it, I've been fooled. At this time, the lower god was very depressed. If he had known this earlier, he would not have followed. Unfortunately, there is no regret medicine in the world, and now he can only fight with all his strength. Bang! Quote. A punch was thrown, and after a fight with QB, 9 tails, who turned into divine power, both of them retreated at the same time. Although this is just QB, 9 tails, transformed by divine power, not the real QB, 9 tails, but the strength is stronger than the real QB, 9 tails. However, it is a bit unrealistic to kill a lower god with only one QB, 9 tails transformed by divine power, so Kushina quickly transformed into 1 to 8 tails using divine power. Immediately, the 9 big-tailed beasts joined forces to fight against the lower gods, and Kushina consumed too much divine power at this time and had to watch from the side. At this time, all the power of the psychic world was used by Kushina to deal with the enemy, so her recovery speed was not very fast. Just relying on the power of the 9-tailed beasts is enough to deal with a lower god. In the face of the 9-tailed beasts transformed by divine power, this low-ranking god was beaten only by parrying but not able to fight back, and he was injured not long after. Kushina has the upper hand here, but Makoto has a hard time. After the tactic of bringing the enemy into the underworld failed, she could only encourage her to resist. Fortunately, she had Rinnegan and her strength was stronger than Kushina, so she was able to persevere, but the situation was not good. Die. There was a grin on the face of Otsutsuki's god-level powerhouse who fought against Makoto, and the giant axe turned into divine power in his hand went straight to Makoto. Shinra Tensai Almighty Push sign. Boom. The repulsive force was issued, but it only slowed the falling speed of the giant axe a little bit, but it was impossible to completely block it. Bang. The axe hit Makoto directly, and the black armor on her body was shattered. The armor on Uchiha Makoto's body is not simple, it is not a simple magical transformation, but Susanoo. After becoming a god, Makoto's Susanoo has also undergone tremendous changes. It is no longer as huge as before, but covers Makoto like a piece of armor. Although it doesn't look as powerful as before, its power has increased rather than decreased. Fortunately, Susanoo was there, otherwise the axe would be enough to split Makoto in half. What should I do? I can't hold on for long. At this moment, Makoto was anxious, and now even Susanoo was damaged. And just when Makoto was in a hurry, Hinata arrived. Sword of Judgment. The sword light fell, and the forced Otsutsuki god-level powerhouse had to turn around to resist. Bang! After one hit, Hinata took a few steps back. This is not a heaven, and her strength has returned to its normal state. Naturally, she is not an opponent of this god-level powerhouse. But the arrival of Hinata gave Makoto a chance to breathe. Here comes another one. At this time, the eyes of the god-level powerhouse Otsutsuki also changed. Although he did not take these natives seriously, he was not stupid. He was stronger than the opponent when he fought alone. If one is against two, it will be a little troublesome. What the hell is going on? Could someone be defeated? At this time, the god-level powerhouse was puzzled. I didn't expect a character like you to appear in such a world. It's really rare. Otsutsuki Momoshiki looked at Tsunade with admiration in his eyes. Although he has not yet fought seriously, he already knows that Tsunade is a strong man who is not weaker than himself. Nothing is impossible in the world. Although this world is weak, it is enough to destroy you. Tsunade said without fear. 5.0 Hehe, it really is an indigenous person, really naive. Do you think that my Otsutsuki clan is only like this? Didn't that traitor Otsutsuki Kagaya tell you how strong the Otsutsuki clan is? Otsutsuki Momoshiki said with a mocking expression. I know you're strong, but so what? We're not afraid because you're strong. Crack, crack. Otsutsuki Momoshiki even applauded when he heard this. Yes, very imposing, but I don't know if your strength is really that strong. Speaking of this, Otsutsuki Momoshiki showed a powerful imposing manner. At this time, Tsunade and the two stood on the edge of the starry sky. As long as the two flew up a dozen meters, they could directly enter the universe. They did not have to worry about disturbing others when fighting here. Boom! Two powerful auras collided. Chapter 1038 The Fall of the Two Gods Middle. Tsunade and Otsutsuki Momoshiki stood opposite each other, and the powerful momentum emanated from the two of them and collided continuously. A gust of wind formed between the two, and even the atmosphere was distorted. If someone looks up from the bottom at this time, they will find an Uzumaki in the sky. Whoosh! In an instant, the two disappeared at the same time. Bang! A collision sounded, but they still couldn't see the figures of the two, and then only heard the sound coming out, but the two Tsunade could not be seen with the naked eye. Even a demigod-level powerhouse can only see two black shadows at most, and only a god-level powerhouse can clearly see the battle between the two. Although neither of Tsunade was very good at speed, they were able to understand all things in one way. At this time, the strength of the two of them had reached the level of a mid-level god. Even if they were not good at speed, they were much stronger than demigods. This woman is so powerful. At this time, Otsutsuki Momoshiki was shocked. Although he seemed to be fine on the surface, in fact his hands were trembling slightly, and even every time they collided, some cracks would appear in the bones of his hands, but they would soon be healed by divine power. As expected of a mid-level god-level powerhouse, he was able to block my fist head-on, but I don't know how long you can block it. Thinking of this, Tsunade did not increase his strength, but kept hitting Otsutsuki Momoshiki at the current level. The world of Hokage is Tsunade's territory, where her divine power is almost constant, and even if she is exhausted, she can consume Otsutsuki Momoshiki to death. Other hand, Otsutsuki Momoshiki consumes some divine power every time he catches Tsunade's attack. Although it doesn't consume much each time, it can't stand many times. Speaking of fighting Tsunade, Otsutsuki Momoshiki is at a disadvantage, because what he is best at is not taijutsu, and one of his abilities is also restrained by Tsunade, that is, absorption. Although Otsutsuki Momoshiki's strength is much stronger than the original, but the ability has not changed, that is absorption. However, from absorbing chakra in the original book, it has become absorbing divine power. If Otsutsuki Momoshiki is not facing a physical god like Tsunade, but a person like Kushina who relies on divine power to fight, he can directly absorb the divine power emitted by the enemy and then return. So it cannot be said that Otsutsuki Momoshiki is weak, only that he has met his nemesis. Because of restraining Otsutsuki Momoshiki, after the fight, Tsunade directly suppressed him. PFF'd. The god-level powerhouse didn't pay attention, and was bitten by the divine force Kyubi, Ninetails, with his mouth open, and then Kyubi, Ninetails, ripped his arm off with force. Ah! Even a god-level powerhouse could not bear such severe pain. Suddenly, the man screamed, and at the same time, blood spurted out, but the man quickly used his divine power to stop the blood. And since Kyubi, Ninetails, didn't have the power of law in this blow, he soon grew an arm again. However, this consumed a lot of divine power, which made his breathing become heavier. Seeing the nine-tailed beasts with magical powers suppressing the opponent, Kushina couldn't help showing a proud look on his face. Hey, let you be so arrogant just now, since you are on my territory, you have to give it to me as well. At this time, Kushina's face had a triumphant look on her face, but it matched her charming appearance. Looks not only not annoying, but a little cute. Unlike Kushina, although Uchiha Makoto and Hinata teamed up to fight against a god-level powerhouse, they were unable to gain the upper hand. That is, they were on an equal footing with the opponent, and it was impossible to win unless they led him to the heavenly realm. However, because Makoto failed to introduce the enemy into the underworld before, the opponent was on guard, so Hinata tried once, but failed. Seeing that they couldn't defeat their opponents, the Hinata girls could only try their best to hold back their opponents, and at the same time prayed for the others to solve the enemy as soon as possible and then come to help them. Die. PFF'd. Dong Shenyao slashed down with a sword, and immediately the demigod who was already injured was cut with a slit in his body. The halo spreads out. Crash. Not good. The demigod was startled. After being shrouded in golden light, he only felt that the cells in his body began to transform towards the rock, which forced him to mobilize all his divine power to suppress it. It was you just now. At this time, the demigod also understood that it was Dong Shenyao who attacked them just now. You are just a demigod, how could you be so strong? At this time, the demigod of the Otsutsuki family was full of doubts. He could see that Dong Shenyao was just a demigod who had mastered divine power and laws. Although he was stronger than him in terms of strength, he couldn't be so much stronger. The battle between the two was completely one-sided. Facing the enemy's doubts, Dong Shenyao smiled proudly. This is the power of the laws belonging to the ocean of time and space. It is far from being comparable to the laws of a world. Don't think that he has only comprehended 11% of the laws of the earth. But in terms of power, it is no worse than the laws of the world that are more than 90%. Why are there so many reasons? I can only say that I am a genius. After the stinky fart, Dong Shenyao showed no mercy, and while the opponent's body was stiff, he directly chopped off the opponent's head with a sword, and then used the law. The power annihilated the opponent's soul. At the same time, the demigod that Kurenai Yuhi had caught up with had completely sunk into the illusion, and finally could not bear the torment of the illusion. His soul collapsed directly, and the dead could no longer die. And just like that, with the help of Tashinyao, Kurenai Yuhi's 4 opponents were quickly resolved. Soon the two meet again. Yuhi, you go to help Makoto and the others now, and I'll go see the others. At this time, Dong Shenyao had discovered through the eyes of God that Makoto and the others could not defeat their opponents. Got it. After responding, Kurenai Yuhi left directly. Although she doesn't have the eye of the god of Tashinyao, or even Byakugan, her strength is enough to perceive the position of Uchiha Makoto and the others, so she's not afraid to find them. Dong Shenyao did not stop, but he did not choose to support Tsunade and others, but prepared to help Neji and the others defeat their opponents, and the battle of ordinary ninjas as soon as possible, and then help the Tsunade girls deal with the god-level powerhouses. At this time, Neji was fighting vigorously with 4 high-level 6 paths level powerhouses. After using the golden wheel, Neji pressed the 4 6 paths level powerhouses with a lightsaber. At this moment, Dong Shenyao arrived. Thank you for the monthly ticket support of Winter Protection Clothing. Chapter 1039 The Fall of the Two Gods Part 2. Neji has the upper hand with 1 enemy and 4, and he can be said to be in high spirits at this time. After all, his current opponents are all characters of Uchiha Madara's level. 10 years ago, Neji's strength was even worse than that of Uchiha Madara, and the main reason why his strength was able to advance by leaps and bounds was that he had a body, while Uchiha Madara only had a soul. This is the difference between having a body and not having a body. As for Senju Hashirama, although he also has a body, he is a demigod that has been condensed through the reincarnation pool. Although it looks better than a normal body, it will limit the speed of cultivation. It can be said that Neji's future achievements will definitely far exceed Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, and even becoming a real god is not impossible. Just when Neji was pressing the 4-6 paths level powerhouses, Dong Shenyao arrived. Crash. Of the attention of the 4-6 paths level powerhouses being attracted by Neji, Dong Shenyao, the demigod, was not embarrassed at all for bullying the small, and even when his strength prevailed, he used the sneak attack. Because it was too sudden, a golden light circle easily passed through the bodies of these 6 paths level powerhouses. Even demigod level powerhouses will be hit if they don't pay attention, let alone these 6 paths level powerhouses. After being hit, the 4-6 paths level powerhouses found sadly that their cells had begun to transform and gradually became stiff. Even if they tried their best to suppress it, they could not completely stop this transformation. Just the speed of change. Just when these 6 paths level powerhouses were fighting against the mysterious power in their bodies, Neji had already shot. PFF'd. The sword in hand, the head of a 6 paths level powerhouse was chopped off, and then Dong Shenyao also shot. Not long after, the remaining 3 were also beheaded by Dong Shenyao and Neji respectively. As expected of an adult, his strength is indeed strong. Neji said sincerely. Okay, there's no need to flatter you, Neji, hurry up and help Uchiha Madara and the others, and after you have dealt with the enemy's 6 paths level powerhouses, go and help those ordinary ninjas, remember to end the battle as soon as possible. Said after finishing, Dong Shenyao left directly. After seeing Dong Shenyao leave, Neji did not stop, and went straight to the battlefield of Uchiha Madara and others. Through the eyes of God, Dong Shenyao saw that Maitreya and Ziwan had joined forces with a god-level powerhouse to draw a tie. Although they fell slightly behind, they would not fail for a while. As for Otsutsuki Kagaya, although she has no priesthood, her strength is second only to Tsunade without resorting to the power of the world. After all, Otsutsuki Kagaya has lived for thousands of years, and has obtained a part of the world's origin. At this time, there is no suppression of world consciousness, not only the strength has greatly increased, but also the speed of cultivation is much faster. Therefore, although Otsutsuki Kagaya is now one-on-one, it has the upper hand and is losing the opponent's fight. Although it has not yet been defeated, the chances of continuing to fight and losing to Otsutsuki Kagaya are very high. It's really hidden, but as long as you are still in this world, you can't make any big waves. Thinking of this, Dong Shenyao stopped paying attention to Otsutsuki Kagaya, and turned to Uchiha Makoto and others. At this time, with the help of Kurenai Yuhi, and the power of the 3, they can finally suppress their opponents, but that's all. The 3 are weak lower gods, especially Kurenai Yuhi, who is among the lower gods. The existence of the bottom, so it is really difficult to rely on them to kill opponents. In that case, I'll help you. After muttering softly, Dong Shenyao disappeared in a teleportation. The formation of tailed beasts burst. With a loud shout from Kushina, I saw that the 9-tailed beasts surrounding Otsutsuki's god-level powerhouse suddenly changed. The powers that made up these tailed beasts became unstable, and the breath became very violent. Not good. Otsutsuki's face changed. He wanted to dodge, but now he was surrounded by 9-tailed beasts, and he couldn't run even if he wanted to. After 2 seconds. Boom, boom, boom. The 9-tailed beasts exploded at the same time, bursts of rays of light bloomed, and the 9 mushroom clouds gathered together, turning into a cloud of smoke connecting the heavens and the earth, and a gust of wind swept the sky of the psychic world. Even though Kushina has avoided far away, he can still feel a violent breath. What a terrifying destructive power. I don't believe you can survive. When the smoke cleared, Kushina saw a dilapidated body lying on the ground, and a deep pit with a diameter of dozens of miles appeared on the ground. At least 2/3 of the body was missing, apparently destroyed in the explosion that had just occurred. Phew, it's finally resolved. Kushina sighed in relief upon seeing this. Crash. Gravity field. After Dong Shenyao rushed to the battlefield, he directly attacked twice, and the enemy who was besieged by the 3 girls of Makoto was suddenly stunned. But in the end, it is a god-level powerhouse, quickly expelling the power of the law in the body, and quickly adapting to the sudden increase in gravity. However, there was a momentary stagnation, and this was an opportunity seized by the 3 women. Down. A Yuhi light flashed in Kurenai Yuhi's eyes. After the two looked at each other, the god-level powerhouse only felt in a trance for a while. At this moment, Hinata and Makoto activated the pupil technique at the same time. The repulsive force pressed on the god-level powerhouse, which made him instantly stiff in the air. Kill. Dong Shenyao shouted loudly, and stabbed the god-level powerhouse with a sword. PFF'd. Fresh blood flowed out, and Dong Shenyao's sword pierced directly into the shoulder of the god-level powerhouse. Just before the crisis of life and death, the potential of this god-level powerhouse exploded, and he directly got rid of the control of the 3 women and avoided the key point. However, he was still injured by Dong Shenyao, and a force of law invaded his body. Sword of Judgment. The Spear of Death. Psychedelic. With the launch of Kurenai Yuhi demonic illusion, even if the god-level powerhouse was guarded this time, he was still in a trance. At this time, Hinata swung out with a golden sword, and Makoto condensed a black spear exuding the breath of death. Went straight to the heart of the god-level powerhouse. Confinement. Dong Shenyao was not idle either, this time he also launched a repulsion. Compared with the 2 Hinata girls, Dong Shenyao's repulsion is more powerful, and it suppresses the god-level powerhouse from all sides. PFF'd. Unable to move, the god-level powerhouse was directly hit by Hinata and Makoto. His heart was pierced by the Spear of Death, and Hinata's Sword of Judgment pierced through the back of his head. Thank you, JMJUI. Chapter 1040 He Battle Otsutsuki Momoshiki. With Hinata's sword piercing the back of the god-level powerhouse's head, and the power of death in his body erupting, even if he was a god-level powerhouse, he could no longer die at this time. In this way, a god-level powerhouse was surrounded and killed by the 4 Dong Shenyao. This god-level powerhouse can be said to be extremely sad. If it was a head-to-head battle, although he could not beat the 4 Dong Shenyao together, he still couldn't. Not going to die so soon. The key is that Dong Shenyao didn't have the mastery at all, so he attacked directly, creating a chance for Hinata's 3 daughters, and thus easily killed the god-level powerhouse. It's finally done. Makoto let out a long sigh of relief when she saw that the person was already dead, but she was still a little depressed. After all, Hinata used her own strength to kill her opponent, but on the other hand, she took advantage of it. The strength of all. At this time, 3 of Momoshiki's 5 subordinate god-level powerhouses have died. The Otsutsuki clan is considered to be over. Although the battle is not over yet, according to the current situation, the Otsutsuki clan will be defeated sooner or later. Yao relaxed a little. Everyone, let's take a rest first, then let's help Tsunade solve the enemy as soon as possible. Well, I'll listen to you. The 3 girls all agreed with what Dong Shenyao said. And just when a few people started to rest, the battles in other places were approaching the end of 000. Thanks to the help of Neji, Senju Hashirama and others quickly killed their opponents, and then these 6 paths level powerhouses and Neji, the demigod, went to support the others. Now all the 6 paths level powerhouses and demigods from the Otsutsuki clan have fallen. Except for Otsutsuki Momoshiki and 2 other god level powerhouses, only those below the 6 paths level are left. Those below the 6 paths level were all ants, and faced with the powerhouses above the 6 paths level, these ordinary warriors of the Otsutsuki clan couldn't stop them, and they didn't even have the chance to escape. Didn't take long for Senju Hashirama and others to join forces with other ninjas to annihilate the enemy in one fell swoop. After beheading the enemy, Kushina took a short rest in the psychic world before returning to the ninja world. After carefully sensing the breath of everyone, she found that the breath of Dong Shenyao and others were still there, which made her relieved. Fortunately, no one died. But now Dong Shenyao and Hanada's auras are very stable. It seems that they have already ended the battle. I don't know what the situation is. Thinking of this, Kushina quickly followed the sensed breath toward Dong Shenyao came here. When Kushina found everyone, they found that everyone was sitting on the ground and resting on the ground with no image. Yo, you guys look really laid back. If Tsunade's sister saw it, I don't know how she would react. Kushina teased. Cough. We just finished fighting, so we took a break. Dong Shenyao coughed a few times to hide his embarrassment and said. Cut, I think you're just being lazy. Well, the battle isn't over yet, let's end it early and rest early. Let's work harder, Kushina encouraged. Hearing that, Dong Shenyao can't continue to rest. Although Tsunade has the upper hand now, as Kushina said, end the battle early and go to rest. Yuhi, you are going to help Maitreya and the others now. As for the others, follow me to help Tsunade. After speaking, Dong Shenyao rose into the sky and flew towards the battlefield between Tsunade and Otsutsuki Momoshiki. As for Otsutsuki Kagaya, it was directly ignored by Tashinyao. Another breath disappeared. Damn it, how can this world be so strong? This is not in line with the intelligence. Feeling the disappearance of another god-level powerhouse, Otsutsuki Momoshiki had a feeling of a dead dog. According to the information, the Hokage world doesn't even have gods, it's just the most common medium world. Now there is a group of gods who don't say it, and they are so powerful that they killed all the subordinates he brought. No, if I go on like this, I have to die here, do I have to escape? Thinking of this, Otsutsuki Momoshiki hesitated. Escape is not a glorious thing. If this is passed back to the clan, his face will be lost. And just when Otsutsuki Momoshiki was entangled, Dong Shenyao and several people had already arrived. Meteor shower summons came up. It was a large-scale attack, and a large number of meteorites flew from the universe, and then directly smashed through the atmosphere to Otsutsuki Momoshiki. This is a pure physical attack, and meteorites are also entities, so Otsutsuki Momoshiki has no way to absorb it, but can only evade or hard block. Bastard! How come so quickly? Otsutsuki Momoshiki was anxious when he saw that Tsunade's reinforcements had arrived. Bang! Seeing that a meteorite fell, Otsutsuki Momoshiki smashed it with a punch, but this was just the beginning, and then a large number of meteorites fell. And these meteorites seemed to have eyes, all avoided Tsunade, and sometimes the two were next to each other, but the meteorites would not hurt Tsunade at all. What an exquisite control, who is that? Otsutsuki Momoshiki frowned. Dealing with a Tsunade gave him a headache, and now facing a large number of meteorites, he is also a little stretched. While most meteorites were dodged or blocked by Otsutsuki Momoshiki, a few slipped through the net. Otsutsuki Momoshiki was inattentive and was hit by a meteorite. Boom! Although there is no divine power on this meteorite, nor the power of law, but even the huge power attached to the meteorite itself has already hurt Momoshiki. I saw Momoshiki's face turn pale, and his body almost fell. The difficulty of the tailed beast. Soon Kushina also shot, and saw one tailed beast appearing, no more or no less, a total of 9, and then went straight to Otsutsuki Momoshiki to pounce. Seeing the tailed beast transformed into the divine power running over, a look of joy flashed on Otsutsuki Momoshiki's face. Suck it for me. Otsutsuki Momoshiki is now worried that his powers are not enough, but he didn't expect Kushina to give him warmth. Otsutsuki Momoshiki stretched out his hand and pressed it on a tailed beast. Immediately, there was a suction force from Rinnegan in the palm of his hand, and soon the huge tailed beast was sucked into his body. Not good. Everyone was shocked when they saw this scene. Kushina quickly take back the tailed beast. Otsutsuki Momoshiki can absorb divine power. At this time, Dong Shenyao quickly reminded. It's too late. After finally waiting for the divine attack, Otsutsuki Momoshiki would not let it go easily. Before Kushina recalled the tailed beast, he had already begun to absorb other tailed beasts. By the time Kushina recalled the tailed beasts to replace them, 4 had already been absorbed by Otsutsuki Momoshiki. Damn! Kushina yelled angrily. Everyone, be careful, don't use divine power to attack. Dong Shenyao quickly reminded the others.